I opened my eyes inside a cramped, rundown room. This definitely wasn't my apartment. A wooden table sat nearby with teacups, and weird symbols covered old parchment. Just then, a wave of memories hit me. My head felt like it was literally splitting. Once the pain cleared, everything made sense. I had actually transmigrated, ending up in the magic continent. Now I was a 16-year-old baron named Chris Jordan, sent directly to his own territory, Hopetown, right after his coming-of-age ceremony 6 months ago. But get this, the system suddenly boots up and hands me a task. The peanut fields here were in deep trouble. If I didn't solve this problem fast, the entire harvest would fail. The prize, awakening my battle aura, a must-have power to survive this harsh world. Real prodigies awakened this by age 12 or 15, becoming powerful knights. But Chris was already 16 with zero power, and everyone called him hopeless. But with this, now we have a real shot. Soon, my administrator Randall walked in to give his report. He said the peanut crops were turning yellow, blaming the serfs for being completely lazy, and even punished them already. I told him to hold his horses, and decided to inspect the fields myself. I left the estate with Randall and my chief knight, Jonathan, a massive red-haired warrior of the 3rd knight rank, along with 4 other first-rank knights. I rode the single horse in the entire town, while my guards marched alongside me. Along the road, I spotted skinny, starving serfs heading to the fields. They immediately fell to their knees at my sight. To these people, I held absolute power. We finally reached the terraced fields, roughly 13 or 14 acres, and over half the crops had completely yellowed. An old serf, an old guy named Old John, scrambled out of a nearby straw hut. He was incredibly thin, wearing rags, and covered in brutal whip marks. He dropped to his knees, literally trembling with fear. Randall kicked him hard, calling the poor man a lazy fool. But Old John begged, swearing he watered those fields every single week. Without fail, I quickly stopped Randall and dismounted from my horse, plucking a yellowed peanut leaf to examine it closely. Randall complained that a true nobleman should never handle dirty soil with his own hands. But I just ignored him, having lived in the modern world. I did not care about those rules. Honestly, I was pretty sure these peanuts just lacked nitrogen, fertilizer, so I asked Old John when they last fertilized this soil. He looked totally lost, having absolutely no clue what fertilizer even meant. Randall and the rest looked equally blank. I just rubbed my forehead and asked him how they normally tended to the peanut crops. The old man explained. He pulled weeds and cleared pests 3 times every single day, without fail, so laziness was definitely not the issue. Believe it or not, this world had no concept of fertilizer. Plants just grew however they grew, and everyone just left the harvest to blind fate. I turned to Randall and ordered all the serfs to drop their regular chores, and instructed them to dig up mud from the pond and mix it thoroughly with wood ash from their cooking fires, then bury that rich mixture into the fields. Randall and my knights quickly spread the word throughout Hope Town. Around 140 workers dug up pond mud, while the remaining people gathered dry wood to burn into ash. By the end of that morning, over 13 acres of peanut fields were fully fertilized. Once the job was finally completed, I ordered Randall to pay every single serf 20 copper coins. The knights stood there, utterly shocked by my decision. Serfs working blindly for their lord was simply how the world was supposed to work, but I quickly shut him down. Back in my world, honest labor always deserves fair and proper pay. Besides, my own serfs were just skin and bones. I mean, how could I expect hard labor from people who were starving? Once the serfs heard about getting paid, they absolutely lost it, showering me with genuine praise and tears. Right then, the system dinged in my head. Task complete. The reward, battle or awakening. A sudden wave of heat surged through me, and the moment I opened my palm, a swirling silver light manifested right before my eyes. I was officially a trainee knight. With a little work, I could easily reach 1st rank. Jonathan sensed it instantly. Being a 3rd rank knight, he felt the energy. His eyes went wide with excitement. Having an awakened lord changed everything for him. It meant real military glory was possible. We could elevate our rank and take more land. To my people, it was a shot at a better life. We finally made our way back. My maid, Ruth Sandy, served up a hot steak with actual silver utensils. I guess even broke lords keep up appearances. The meat was tough, but I had to eat. With a full stomach, I went to rest, ready to fully embrace this new world. After all, there was no going home. Urgent knocking cut my sleep short. Ruth rushed in saying Jonathan was waiting. That annoying Baron Anthony Hughes was stirring up trouble. He was our troublesome neighbor. Our borders had been tense for a long time. He was a powerful first-rank knight, while the original Chris was just a regular, weak guy. Because of that, Anthony always pushed us around. But things are totally different now. I clenched my fist and stormed outside. Leaping onto my horse, I ordered Jonathan to lead the way at full speed. As we rode, here is where it gets ridiculous. Right between our territory and Baron Anthony's, a few poplar trees serve as the border markers. One of my serfs was just taking a leak nearby. When Anthony caught him, Anthony claimed my serf had crossed onto his land and wanted him executed immediately. But here's the catch. Only a lord can legally punish his own serfs. Another noble. Executing someone else's serf is a direct insult. Wait, you and I both know this wasn't about borders. Anthony was just using this to humiliate me. The moment I reached the eastern edge of my land, a huge crowd had gathered around Anthony. He was some 20-something guy with grayish-brown eyes, dressed in incredibly fancy clothes. One of my serfs was hanging from a tree nearby, covered in whip marks and barely even breathing. I hopped off my horse, demanding to know what the hell he was doing. He laughed, claiming my serf had trespassed, giving him every right to execute the man. The serf weakly protested, and Anthony slapped him hard across the face, screaming that he crossed the border. This guy was obviously here just to start a fight. The old Chris would have swallowed this insult quietly, but I'm not that guy anymore. In my past life, I was famous for being an absolute beast. Back in school, I never backed down from anyone. Win or lose, I roared at Anthony to release my serf immediately. He froze in shock. So did Jonathan. And we loved to see him standing his ground. Anthony tossed silver coins at my feet, saying he was basically buying the serf's life. I spat on his offer and roared at him to let the man go. But when he mocked me, I commanded Jonathan and the knights to draw their steel. Both sides were pretty evenly matched, each having one third-rank knight, and for first-rankers. But Anthony himself was actually a first-rank knight, which gave his side a slight edge. I didn't care at all and charged straight at Anthony. Jonathan eagerly clashed with their third-rank knight. He'd been holding back his intense frustration for 6 whole months. Anthony flared his aura, meeting me head-on. Our fists slammed together. Our clash sends me stumbling back 5 steps, but he only gives up 3. He laughs, sneering that a trainee knight is absolute trash, before grabbing a heavy tree branch to finish me. So I play dirty, charging straight ahead, kick dirt right in his eyes and slam him down. I tear at him with fingernails, biting like a wild beast. Soon, his entire body is covered in bloody gashes. Even when he punches back, I sink my teeth into his ear until warm blood gushes, then rip 5 deep, bloody streaks across his face. Everyone freezes, the watching serfs, even the knights in the middle of battle. Could you blame them? My style was pure chaos. Anthony shrieks like a baby. His main knight begs Jonathan to step in and separate us, before one of us gets killed. Jonathan nods. They drag us apart. Anthony's face is a bloody mess. Blood pours from his ear, his expensive clothes totally ruined. He points a shaking, furious finger at me, screaming that I am a lunatic unfit to be noble. My own face is a swollen, bruised mess, but I just spit the dark blood from my mouth, telling him he doesn't get a say in who is worthy of being a true noble. And next time, I promise it gets way worse. Anthony is so incredibly livid. He stutters out a single word and passes out cold. I glare at his men, take your lord and get lost. If he ever steps foot on my land again, trying to pick a fight, he is going to regret it. His men carry him away without saying a word. Now, I order my men to cut down that poor peasant, still hanging from the tree branches. The guy was completely innocent, just caught in the crossfire of 2 noble houses. Jonathan immediately cuts the ropes, letting the serf fall. The poor guy falls to his knees, sobbing in gratitude. His name is Dean. I hand him the scattered silver coins, the very ones Anthony threw in the dirt, as compensation, using their resources to heal up, since I still needed his labor anyway. As I rode away, the watching serfs began cheering. Finally, they had a lord who actually protected them. This brought real hope back to the castle. Ruth gasped. My bruised face looked pretty brutal. I told her not to worry. The other guy looked way worse. Anthony probably won't be waking up anytime soon. It'll take him at least 10 days to 2 weeks to recover. Ruth cleaned my cuts with medicinal wine, while I sat back, quietly planning my next move. My cheap tricks actually worked this time. but the massive gap in our strength was still there. Once Anthony heals, he'll definitely come looking for revenge. I had to reach first rank knight as fast as possible. Right on cue, the system chimes with a new quest. An unexpected guest has just arrived in my territory, and treating them well triggers a pretty surprising reward. The details were completely vague. It didn't even clarify if this guest was human or some wild monster. So, I summoned Jonathan over and ordered him to take 2 knights to patrol the entire border. They had to report anything unusual, but by evening, we still heard absolutely nothing. After dinner, I headed back to my study, trying to brainstorm some business ideas. Using modern knowledge from my past life, I needed serious cash. I was a broke lord with almost nothing. Every idea I had either required missing materials or specialized skills I lacked. I stayed up late, completely failing to find any solutions. Just as I was finally crawling into bed, and right there, a figure in a gray robe stands waiting, right inside my door. It startled me, sending me stumbling backward and knocking over a chair. That mysterious outfit belonged to a real mage. She pulled down her hood, introducing herself as Tina. She looked around 18 or 19, with gorgeous snow-white skin, wavy brownish gold hair, big eyes, and long eyelashes. Sitting down casually, she explained that she had been injured and desperately needed to recover somewhere safe. For about 3 months, she wanted to stay in my castle. I immediately knew she just wanted free room and board. Mages mostly lived completely alone anyway, mainly because greedy nobles did not like them, because of their quite bizarre research. So it was pretty rare for one to ask a noble for help. I told her directly nothing is free, and asked what I would get in return. She leaned in close, whispering that she could sense magic power inside me, and she offered to teach me. This training would turn me into a magic warrior, a rare fighter using both battle, aura, and magic. At the same rank, magic warriors are absolutely unstoppable, but spreading your training so thin means you probably will never reach the highest levels. I flat out refused. Becoming a magic warrior did not interest me. But then, she tosses a ring onto the table. A silver ring set with a tiny yellow gem. It was actually a spatial ring. A rare magic item with 100 cubic units of space, opening and closing with just some battle aura. I put it on to test it. Suddenly, 10 separate compartments appeared in my mind. This thing was genuinely useful, and it would make my life way more convenient. I accepted the deal and kept the ring on. Then I asked why she had specifically chosen to find me, and Tina told me her exact reason. She had actually arrived in my territory that very day. She watched everything, like how I refused to punish old John, and instead quietly solved that whole peanut field issue. How I fought Anthony to protect my own serf. Even how I gave those silver coins to Dean. Out of the hundreds of corrupt nobles she had met, I was the only one treating serfs like actual human beings. Honestly, if I had arrived even 1 day later, the original, arrogant Chris would have driven her far away, because he was just like every other greedy noble. Then, things take a terrifying turn. Tina suddenly grabbed my cup and sniffed it. She warned me it was laced with a magical toxin, lethal green-scale snake venom, and mixed with colorless, blue-eyed lizard spit, completely odorless, and instantly fatal. That had to be how the original Chris died, giving me the perfect chance to take over his body. I searched all of his old memories, but I still couldn't figure out the killer. Anthony was definitely the prime suspect here, but it made no sense. He actually liked having a weak neighbor around to bully, Tina said. The poison was simple enough for a first-rank mage, but slipping it into my cup completely unnoticed, that required a third-rank mage. This meant someone incredibly powerful was hiding in the shadows, watching me, and honestly, that's a pretty chilling thought. I asked her rank, but she just smiled and kept it a total secret. So I set her up in the empty room next door, a powerful mage sleeping right next door. That was great protection in case the hidden enemy returned. Talk about a perfect win-win arrangement. Later that night, lying in bed, I quietly circulated the battle aura through my body. After several cycles, a sharp cracking sound echoed deep within me. My aura suddenly surged dramatically. I had officially broken through to first-rank knight in just a single day since awakening, and heard of on this continent, absolute genius level. My skin turned red and burning hot, and I could feel my body getting way stronger. 3 times stronger than it was before. Then, a cool feeling started flowing through me, calming the heat, and it wasn't battle aura. This was real magic power, just like Tina mentioned. I slowly held out both hands. Silver-white aura swirled around in my right palm, while clear, water-like magic energy floated in my left. My breakthrough had triggered my magic too, waking it up. Now I was a first-rank magic warrior, a knight and a mage. The system upgraded to version 2.0, unlocking a brand new reputation feature. I could earn reputation by expanding my territory, defeating dangerous enemies and earning my people's love. And with enough points, I could level up instantly. Normally, this changed everything. Usually, progress for magic warriors is pretty slow, since training is split between two disciplines, but this system let me bypass that limitation entirely. One day, I might actually become the first 9th rank magic warrior in history. I slept dreaming of that. The next morning, Ruth helped me get ready before breakfast. Milk and white bread with silver cutlery. The bread was dry, like stale steamed buns, and the milk was fresh from the cow. Greasy and fishy tasting, nothing like the processed milk back home. Yet, both were luxuries here. But for a 21st century guy, they were barely edible. Then I remembered my past life. I was a pastry chef running a dessert shop. I could easily make cream and stuff it inside to make this bread taste great. But before I could even start, suddenly, chaos breaks out outside. My butler, Robert, burst right inside, dragging a maid named Kalina along. Her hair was messy, with a red slap mark showing. She was kneeling on the ground in tears. Robert claimed she stole 30 silver coins. Lifting her chin, I asked her why. She sobbed that it was for her sick brother's treatment. I recalled the original Chris's memories, how she had once asked for an advance on her pay, for this exact same reason, and the old Chris had rejected her. Robert insisted that, by noble law, I should hang her as an example. But honestly, who would kill over stolen coins? Besides, she was a hard worker, who never complained about the hardest chores. Losing her would actually be my loss, too. So I told her to keep the silver, for her brother's medical care, but I would deduct it from future paychecks, and she would face 20 lash for the theft. She kept thanking me over and over. Then, golden text flashed before my eyes, plus 5 reputation points from Kalina. So that's how this system actually works. I decided to test it by giving Robert a raise, from 8 to 10 silver coins, and grabbed 2 extra points from him. But Robert quickly pointed out a problem. After lending Kalina all that money, I only had enough food and cash for 1 month, and the next harvest was 3 months away. I was flat broke. Seriously, why do other isekai guys get so rich, while I'm stuck as some penniless baron? My only income came from grain taxes, which barely paid my daily expenses. I racked my brain trying to think of business. But back in my previous life, I was no entrepreneur. I was just a pastry chef running a simple dessert shop, definitely not a tycoon. So, I decided to handle the most pressing issue first, making my daily meals actually edible. I called Mrs. Ellen, asking her to fetch me 5 eggs, along with a bit of sugar and some fresh milk. Whipping up basic cream was something I could do in my sleep. First, I separated the egg whites into a bowl, whisking them with a fork until they got quite foamy. Then in went the milk and a spoonful of sugar. I kept stirring. After a few quick rounds, the mixture thickened into a beautiful, pale yellow cream. I tasted it, pretty sweet, rich, smooth, and packed with milky flavor. I slathered a massive scoop onto some bread, sandwiched it, and took a big bite. It was absolutely divine. I ate until I was stuffed, yet still had half a bowl left. Suddenly, a brilliant idea hit me. What if sharing this sweet cream with my servants earned me more reputation points? I immediately ordered everyone in the castle to come over. 5 servants lined up, and Ruth was the first to try it. Her eyes instantly went wide, claiming it was completely amazing. Plus 2 reputation points from Ruth. Seeing that, the other servants practically mobbed the bowl, fighting over every single bite, earning me another 2 points each. In total, I pocketed 10 reputation points, just from serving that single bowl of cream. Checking my status, I had 17 out of 2,000, needed for the 2nd rank, a magic warrior, and at this rate, it might take less than a month to rank up. Then, one of the maids asked me what this heavenly sweet treat was called. I simply smiled and told them it was cream. Ruth licked her lips, completely amazed. Apparently, it was the absolute best thing ever. She even bet, even wealthy city nobles had never tasted this before. Talk about a perfect business opportunity. I could sell this cream to rich nobles. Literally a completely new product here. They will absolutely love it, solving my financial troubles. earn reputation points and get stronger. I bolted to my room, dragging out a small, locked wooden chest from right under my bed. My entire fortune was inside, exactly 30 silver coins. I stuffed them into a bag and immediately headed out, telling Mrs. Ella not to bother making me lunch. I ordered Jonathan to leave one night behind, to guard our castle, while taking the other 3 with me to Mo City, the closest major town where wealthy nobles lived. It was only a few dozen miles away, with the loyal knights running alongside my galloping horse. We made it there in just 2 hours. Check out those massive towering walls, standing dozens of meters high over busy, crowded streets. The original Chris actually lived here for 15 years, before finally earning his baron title. So I already knew this place through his memories. I quickly rented a shop in a solid location, for 5 silver coins, then gave each knight 3 silver coins to purchase basic supplies like milk, eggs and sugar, plus wooden basins, spoons, and paper bowls. They quickly returned with absolutely everything: 20 pounds of eggs, 4 giant cups of milk, 2 pounds of sugar, and all the necessary tools. Immediately, I set those proud knights to cracking eggs, separating egg whites and whipping them in the basins. Even Jonathan is given his own basin and spoon. Their stamina is pretty insane. The egg whites foam up in just minutes. I have them mix in milk and sugar gradually, whipping it constantly. Then, about 15 minutes later, the mixture finally turns into smooth white cream, and the quality, somehow even better than my batch back at the castle. All because the milk is top grade. Time to calculate. The total cost is 15 silver coins for 80 servings, so roughly 19 copper coins each. Charging 50 copper coins per bowl feels pretty fair. I have the knights scoop the cream into paper bowls and set up a wooden table outside. Jonathan asks what we are actually selling. I tell him to call this thing snow cake. Plain cream sounds too boring, but snow cake has a much nicer ring to it. Pure white like snowflakes. I wait eagerly, but absolutely nobody stops to ask about it. I realize we need to advertise, so I order Jonathan to shout and attract some customers. He is totally embarrassed, but I warn him, if we do not sell, I go bankrupt, and he gets 0 pay next month. So there he is, this huge, muscular man nearly 2 meters tall, awkwardly calling out in a super shy voice, "Fresh, sweet snow cake." You have to admit, he looks so ridiculous that people just cannot help but notice. Sure enough, a young man stops at our stall and asks how much. I say 50 coppers for a bowl. The guy says 50 coppers is way too expensive, and walks away. I cannot even believe it. If he had just tasted it, he would know it is worth every single coin. I think about offering some free samples, just like stores did in my old world. But cream is not exactly something you stick on toothpicks, so I start dropping the price instead. 40 copper coins, still, nobody comes. 30, still absolutely nothing. Not a single beer. Jonathan, however, he happily ate a whole bowl and licked it clean, then asked me why nobody was buying something so delicious. I had no answer, and the cream was melting, so I gave each knight a bowl to avoid waste. Finally, I dropped it to 10 copper coins, even though that meant selling at a massive loss. I just wanted to recover some of my money. My very first business venture in this fantasy world was turning into an absolute, complete disaster. Then, a wealthy man stopped by our stall. He turned out to be Baron Raymond, a local nobleman working as a busy city official. He bought one bowl for 10 copper coins. My knights and I celebrated that tiny sale so much that the poor man looked completely confused. But what I didn't know back then was that Raymond actually had a 10-year-old daughter named Sherry, who had completely stopped eating. For the past 2 years, she was dangerously thin, skin and bones. No doctor, or even a powerful mage, could figure out the problem. Raymond had actually bought the snow cake on a whim. It just reminded him of how his daughter used to beg him for sweet treats when she was little. He left the snow cake right on the dining table and headed to his study while the room was empty. Little Sherry wandered in, noticing the white cream. She loved snow and thought it looked just like it. Quickly grabbing a handful, she ate it. Her eyes lit up, and she took a second bite, then a third, and finished the entire bowl. When Raymond came back and saw the empty bowl, barely believing his own eyes, he found his daughter standing by the sink, washing her sticky hands, with sweet cream on her lips. She looked up at him and softly said, "Daddy, it's yummy. Want more?" Raymond burst into tears. His precious daughter was finally eating again. He grabbed a whole fistful of silver from his bedroom and gathered every servant in the house, over 20 people, as they marched out to find my little stall. Right when I almost gave up, my system finally chimed in. 10 reputation points from Sherry. Another 10 from Raymond. I leapt straight up and ordered my knights to get completely ready. Customers were coming, and a massive crowd appeared. Over 100 people, led by Raymond. He had more than 20 servants trailing behind, and a mob of curious onlookers followed them. Raymond marched right up, declaring he would buy every single bowl I had, but I stopped him cold. The price was now the silver coins per bowl, not 10 copper. He absolutely lost it, accusing me of rip-offs. I explained that 10 copper was just a trial price, and with my legendary secret family recipe, the raw ingredients alone cost 1 silver coin, so the silver was actually a steal. He reluctantly agreed, but then I dropped another rule. Only 1 bowl per customer, no bulk buying allowed. He stared like I was crazy for rejecting his money. I warned him that my snow cake melts within a day, so he would just waste it. But here is the real trick. If he bought everything up, no one else could taste it, meaning 0 reputation points for me. Raymond finally settled for 5 bowls, handing over 10 silver coins, and he asked to reserve 1 for his daughter tomorrow. Suddenly, right here, things got completely wild. People began whispering, "Is this snow cake actually that mind-blowing?" Especially since Raymond's picky daughter, who usually refuses to eat anything, apparently loved it. They swarmed my stall. The snow cake completely sold out in under 30 minutes. 75 bowls, sold at 2 silver coins each, 150 silver. My starting cost was only 15 silver coins, 10 times the profit. Better yet, I earned 75 reputation points from those buyers, even though those strangers only gave 1 point each, not to like my servants. Adding that to my current pool, I easily smashed through the 100-point mark. Suddenly, my body started heating up. As my battle aura flared and thickened up, I quickly opened my system menu. 112 out of 2000. That 3-day quest to reach 100. Already completely finished. The reward, an epic grade magical item, a legendary dragon eye stone. I slipped back inside alone, making sure nobody saw before claiming the reward. A fist-sized, dark portal crackling with purple lightning opened up, and a walnut-sized stone fell out. White stone, run through with bright red lines, and a dark spot on one side. Honestly, it looked exactly like an eyeball. I literally have 0 clue what it does, so I tucked it in my spatial ring to ask Tina about later. I gave each knight 2 silver coins as a bonus, bagging me 8 more points of reputation. Jonathan handed me the heavy earnings bag, 150 clinking silver coins. Talk about an epic turnaround from a total disaster into a massive success with some bonus coins paid. We locked up the shop and headed home. It was already 4 in the afternoon, and we would barely make it back before dark. Riding back on my horse, I started mapping out my next moves. First up, personal power was critical. Monsters and bandits were hiding around every corner. My battle aura depended on my system reputation. And I noticed something. My own people gave me 2 points each, while outsiders only gave 1. Keeping my followers happy was absolutely vital. Second, I needed brand new products. Cream was amazing, but customers would eventually get tired of sweet things, so I decided to cook up fruit jam next. An absolute breeze for a pastry chef. Then I would plant fruit trees on my land, creating a complete, full production chain, from growing directly to processing. That would mean actual jobs for my people, better income, far better lives. Plus, way more reputation for me. 2 birds with 1 stone. While lost in thought, I pulled out the mysterious dragon eye stone, gently turning it over in my hands, wondering what it was actually for. Then Jonathan's voice cut through. Sharp and extremely serious, my lord. Be careful, look up ahead on that hill. A figure stood there, wrapped in black robes, with dark mists swirling around him. Jonathan instantly recognized him as a dark mage. That was terrible news, since regular mages are mostly harmless, usually just a bit eccentric. But dark mages, they are unpredictable killers. Historically, one of them literally wiped out a whole city. The dark mage let out a deeply creepy laugh, boasting that he had been searching for something for years, and today, he finally found it. And get this, he was staring right at my dragon eye stone. But then, he looked at my face and froze, recognizing me as the wealthy Baron of Hopetown. He couldn't understand how I was still alive, especially after drinking that deadly magical poison he prepared. So, this was the monster who murdered the original Chris. Time to settle both old and new grudges right here. Jonathan drew his sword while the knights quickly surrounded me. But the dark mage, Blake, summoned for hideous beasts from thick black smoke. A massive, two-headed purple snake, as thick as a grown man's waist and 15 meters long. Next, a creature with an eagle's head, a lion's body, and black wings. A terrifying wolf-headed humanoid carrying a heavy, spiked club, and a giant boar covered in weird fish scales. All four glared with glowing red eyes. Jonathan immediately charged at the two-headed snake, ordering his other 3 knights to handle the rest. I dismounted, fully ready to fight too. I was a first-rank magic warrior myself. Now, the epic battle erupted. Jonathan was really struggling against that snake. His sword just sparked off those hard scales, slammed back by its tail. The other knights could barely hold their own against the rest of the beasts. That's when Blake made his move. A dark whirlwind swept him right toward me. Jonathan leapt up to block him, but Blake whipped out a half-meter wand, summoning a solid black shield. Stopped Jonathan's blade cold. Blake fired a dark magic sphere right at Jonathan, who barely managed to dodge, only for the two-headed snake to lunge straight at his back. But wait, everything's about to shift. A girl's voice rang out, and green vines, as thick as human arms, exploded from the ground, wrapping around the two-headed snake, pinning its head flat. Looking over, I spotted a girl wearing a gray mage's robe, standing just a few dozen meters away. She looked like a young mage, maybe 15 or 16, still carrying a bit of baby fat on her cheeks, holding a walnut wood wand. On her chest was a badge with 2 leaves, marking her as a highly powerful second-rank mage. She scattered strange seeds on the ground, instantly growing them into massive, thorny vines, whipping the two-headed snake mercilessly, until its body was covered in bloody wounds. Then, Blake aimed his wand right at the beast, casting a dark spell called demonization. Its body swelled up and the wound stopped bleeding, while radiating a thick, dark purple mist. Its power surged so rapidly that it easily took on Jonathan and the young female mage at the same time, and still managed to hold the advantage. Then, you guessed it, Blake locks eyes on me. I knew instantly. He was looking at me like a dead man walking. He charged forward, riding a black whirlwind, raising his wand to fire a bolt of black lightning. I threw myself sideways just in time. It slammed into a boulder behind me, shattering it completely. Just as he aimed another blast, I grabbed his wand and ripped it away. Then I slammed my knee into his ribs. The weapon slipped right out of his grip, and he tumbled backward, crashing hard onto the dirt. I instantly snapped it in half. Desperate, he pulled another wand from his ring, but I booted it away before he could even aim the thing, sending it flying over 100 meters. Let's be real, a wandless mage is basically toothless. I didn't hold back at all. My battle aura flared, and I absolutely unloaded on him with pure fury. Within seconds, his face was a total mess. His ribs shattered instantly, and his body was literally giving out. Jonathan, still busy with the snake, yelled out and threw his sword my way. I caught it cleanly, reversing my grip, and plunged it deep right into Blake's chest. Hot blood sprayed right across my face. His eyes went completely lifeless and wide. 20 reputation points popped up right away. Those 4 beasts shrieked, melting into dark puddles. I collapsed onto the dirt, gasping for some air. But then, I spotted a ring on his finger. Silver, with a strange cloudy white gem. I realized it was another storage ring, the exact one his extra wand came from. I slid it off his cold finger. That young mage walked up, telling me how incredible I was. I thanked her for the assist and shared my name. Her name was Linda, a second-rank mage specializing in nature spells. She explained that taking down dark mages is standard duty, because those guys ruined their entire reputation over the years. While we talked, I channeled my battle aura directly into Blake's ring. 10 storage pockets suddenly popped into my mind. But wait, look at what was hidden inside. My face instantly went pale as I looked. 6 of the 10 slots held clear glass jars, packed with green liquid, with severed animal parts literally floating right inside. A horse body topped with a dog head. Just random monster parts. Honestly, the worst part was they were still twitching. The other boxes just held clothes, plus food, spellbooks, and magic supplies. It was so gross I almost threw up on the spot. Linda explained that wicked dark mages do this. They use splicing magic to stitch beasts together. That is exactly where those 4 creatures came from. After taking a second to calm my nerves, Linda starts digging in. She pulled out 4 gray crystal spheres. She calls these tiny, walnut-sized things soul crystals. These things trap a magical beast's soul, binding it to you through a master-servant contract. Then you can store the creature inside it. You just unleash it whenever you need help. That is how Blake summoned those beasts, and why they perished the moment he died. I kept 3 crystals and gave her the 4th. A little thanks for helping me out. Then I showed her the dragon eye stone. When I asked what it was, her eyes popped. She gasps that it is incredibly rare. The kind of stuff used for epic gear. I told her I just found it. No way was I bringing up my system. Then a plan hits. Since she actually specializes in plant magic, she can make crops grow super fast. I pitch a deal. Help develop my territory for 6 months, and I would give her that dragon eye stone as her payment. A mage who can literally speed up plant growth is worth way more than some shiny rock. She accepts instantly. We all head back to Helptown together. When Linda sees my land, smiling, she notes how fertile and nice the soil is. She taps her wand, causing beautiful flowers to instantly bloom right there. I knew recruiting her was the right call. But back at the castle, the guard on duty stops me. Anthony is back at the border, screaming for me. Honestly, I couldn't believe his incredibly fast recovery. Just one day, and he's already back for more. Walking up, Anthony was completely wrapped in bandages, especially around that ear I bit yesterday. Furious, he immediately challenged me to a one-on-one duel. My instant agreement caught him completely off guard. Then, I released my aura, bright silver-white energy, telling him I was a first-rank knight now. His entire squad froze in absolute shock. It took Anthony 4 long years of training, and I did it at just 16 years old. Seriously, that is completely unheard of here. Jonathan quickly tossed me his sword. Pointing the blade, I told him to bring it. He charged forward with his sword raised. His eyes burned with pure malice. I blocked his strike, sending bright sparks flying everywhere. Luckily, the original Chris trained hard as a kid, and I inherited those exact muscle memories. So I was far from helpless here. I slammed his blade upward. He stumbled, and I kicked his stomach hard. He staggered back, spitting fresh blood from his lips. We both unleashed our massive battle aura, standing there under the fading light of sunset, glowing like silver beacons. Are you ready to see this end? Even though I just reached first rank status, my power was easily matching his own energy. Striking first, I gripped my hilt with both hands. My aura extended into a brilliant energy blade, stretching over 2 meters as I swung wildly. Aggressive strikes pushed Anthony backward. Step by step, I landed multiple hits. His clothes ripped as blood started to spill. Just then, Anthony's guard warned Jonathan, "Don't celebrate his victory just yet." His young lord hadn't used any skills yet. That worried me. I hadn't had any chance to learn skills since my sudden breakthrough. Anthony roared, claiming I forced his hand. Unleashing his special green lotus sword art, his sharp energy exploded like a blooming flower. Glowing eerie green, I immediately felt how lethal this strike was. If I couldn't stop it, I would honestly end up dead right then and there. Then, everything changed. My head went crystal clear. And all those classic kung fu movies I watched back in my past life instantly began replaying in my mind. Every legendary move became completely real. My body moved automatically, leaving afterimages behind. My energy literally materialized into a massive dragon. Everyone completely froze. Anthony's bearded guard actually fell over in sheer disbelief, babbling that I had just invented a signature skill, something that usually takes noble families literally hundreds of years to design. Thrusting my left hand forward, I roared, 18 dragons subduing palms. A brilliant silver dragon charged straight at Anthony. His green lotus immediately shattered to pieces. The dragon kept ripping right through. 4 or 5 layers of protective magical shields, all those necklaces he wore, bracelets and charms popping into shields. And yet, they all broke within a second. By the time the attack finally reached Anthony, it was almost faded out, but it still blasted him backward like a ragdoll, coughing up blood, his weapon flying away. Before anyone could even blink, I dashed straight ahead, pinned Anthony down, and pressed my blade to his throat. He desperately begged me to talk. His bearded guard quickly warned me. Noble laws strictly forbid killing another aristocrat. I just smirked and promised not to kill him, but cutting off a very specific body part, down below the belt, not a problem at all. Anthony instantly squeezed his legs together in absolute terror. See, in this world, as long as you don't kill a noble, even crippling them is technically perfectly legal. And since Anthony is only a second son, with absolutely zero inheritance rights, his family probably won't even care. wanting revenge over a petty thing like that. The bearded knight quickly stepped in and asked how much cash I wanted. I just held up 3 fingers. 3 gold coins, basically 300 silver. Anthony immediately called me a bandit, so I bumped it to 5 gold. He shut up. They had exactly 30 minutes to bring the cash, warning that every 10 minutes past the deadline would cost them another 2 gold coins. Anthony sent his bearded knight running off to grab the money chest under his bed. I asked Linda to tie Anthony up, so I would not have to keep holding a blade to his neck. She aimed her wand, growing thick vines from the dirt, wrapping him up tight like a package. Anthony was totally shocked to see I had a mage with me, so we sit on a rock and watch them sweat. Honestly, I just wanted Linda to show off a bit. A first-rank knight, holding a heavy sword all day would never tire me. Soon, the bearded knight came sprinting back, clutching a black money chest in under 10 minutes. Anthony cursed him for handing it over so blindly, because the key was still in Anthony's pocket. I sliced the vines, and Anthony reluctantly opened the chest. Inside lay 3 shiny gold coins, a little silver, and some cheap copper. Not even close. Even after pulling out those 3 gold coins, he still needed 200 silver to reach the total. He scraped together 195 silver, and even the copper fell short. He could not even afford his own ransom. I told him to forget the final 5 silver. Then I swept everything into my spatial ring. Then, the funniest part, the system suddenly granted me 5 reputation points. From Anthony, I had captured the guy, stole nearly all his cash. Yet he was happy I let that tiny debt slide. I definitely stumbled onto a massive system exploit for farming reputation, so I set him free. His treasure chest only had maybe a couple hundred coppers left inside. Honestly, I almost felt a bit bad for him. But Anthony had squeezed the old Chris completely dry, in this exact same way multiple times before. That is exactly why I was so broke. By the time we finally made it back to the castle, night had completely fallen. Robert and the servants were waiting anxiously at the gates. I told everyone that starting next month, their wages were going up by 2 silver coins. As they cheered, I gained 16 sweet reputation points from the 8 of them. Since our snow cake business was already bringing money in, parting with a few silver coins meant absolutely nothing compared to this massive boost in reputation. When Robert tried to warn me about overspending, I simply pulled out my heavy gold pouch and jingled it. He went completely silent. To celebrate my quick promotion to first-rank knight, I ordered Mrs. Allen to drag out every single piece of meat in the kitchen. We were throwing a massive bonfire barbecue tonight. Everyone stood completely stunned by the news. I had reached first rank just yesterday. Just yesterday, I awakened my aura. Jumping from a simple trainee to first rank in one day was something even legendary holy knights could never achieve. The praise flooded in, adding 10 more to my reputation. I had Ruth quickly prep a room for Linda, then sat down in the castle's small courtyard, watching everyone bustle around preparing our dinner. Ellen lit the bonfire, and the rich smell of roasting meat soon filled the air. We all crowded around a massive stone table piled with all kinds of grilled food. I took the head seat next to Jonathan, with Robert and the knights lining the sides. Linda and Tina, my 2 skilled mages, also met each other for the very first time. It felt so warm and lively, like a real home. Honestly, I absolutely loved this cozy feeling. I even insisted that the servants sit down with us. Robert raised his tall mug of wheat ale. Everyone raised a glass to celebrate my big promotion. Our maid was already looking pretty tipsy, while people sang and danced all around the bonfire. We polished off 50 pounds of roasted meat, easily half of the castle's entire stock. Once dinner finished, Linda immediately headed off to bed, since it was her very first time drinking. Plus she was completely exhausted from the journey. Later that night, Tina and I climbed up to the castle's top balcony, just to stare out at the stars. 4 stories up we could see all of Hopetown, mostly pitch black, with only a few faint lights flickering below. I told Tina it looked incredibly peaceful and beautiful. She agreed, saying she really liked being out here, away from all those stuffy, noble customs, but she quickly pointed out something else. While we were feasting, the poor serfs out there were still going, hungry and dressed in rags. I promised her firmly that I would change their lives, and trust me, he means it. She looked up and believed me, saying I was different from those other greedy nobles. Then I asked her to teach me magic. Normally, I planned to ignore magic for battle or a training, since splitting my focus would only slow me down. But now, with my system raising power through reputation gains, That was no longer a problem. Tina just rolled her eyes, telling me to reach rank 1 in magic first. I snapped my fingers, instantly releasing a wave of mana, proving that I was already a first-rank mage. Can you blame her for being totally speechless? Just yesterday my mana was almost non-existent, and now you are first rank, she stammered. Our deal was only for standard lodging, for 3 months in exchange for her spatial ring. So I casually offered 6 months instead, but her wounds would fully heal in 3 months, making it pointless. Until I sweetened the deal, the first 3 months would be completely free lodging. So for the next 3 months, I would fund every single one of her magic experiments. Having a rich noble sponsor your research is way safer, and it is way more convenient than hunting alone. She considers it, then nods in agreement. Suddenly, a pitch-black pigeon, with creepy glowing orange eyes swoops through the open window. Tina warns me it is dark splicing magic. A tiny tube sits tied tightly to its leg. Holding a note, Tina carefully checks it for poison first, before I finally unroll the paper. It says, "Dear little lord, you killed our companion and we are not letting this go." My blood runs cold. The companion is obviously Blake, that evil dark mage I defeated that day. But get this, the word "we" is what terrifies me, not just one person. A full network of dark mages is actively hunting me down right now, and they know my face and exactly where I live. I tell Tina the entire story, about what went down on the road. She pieces it together. Blake was the one who poisoned the old Chris, before spotting that rare dragon I stone. Then I ended him, and now his crew wants revenge. Talk about awkward timing. I just promised Tina 3 months of magic materials, and before things can even start, I drag a massive threat right to her doorstep. She has every right to reclaim her spatial ring and leave, but she surprises me. Tina pats my shoulder, telling me not to worry. She will help me fight the dark mages. Relief washes over me. We agree to begin our magic lessons tomorrow, and say goodnight. Back in my bedroom, I lie awake thinking, those shadow mages hunting me are pretty unsettling. But I absolutely cannot let fear slow me down. As a transmigrator with a cheat system, my potential growth speed is completely off the charts. Now, I must focus on gaining reputation, and expanding my territory, and recruiting some seriously powerful allies. Holding on to that neat plan, I drifted right off to sleep, bright and early. I caught both Tina and Linda waiting at the breakfast table, happily munching on cream bread. Linda asked if I actually invented that snow cake. The second I said yes, both girls immediately gave me 2 reputation points each. I told Linda that once we get some fruit trees planted, that means even better food soon. Her eyes sparkled. I asked, how long would it take her to grow a tiny sapling into a giant, fruit-bearing tree? She counted on her fingers and casually said 5 days. Talk about overpowered. Normal trees take at least a year or 2. My real play was buying saplings, rather than just ordering raw fruit. See, planting trees meant real jobs for my citizens, which meant sweet wages and reputation for me. Breakfast over, Tina dragged me outside for my very first magic lesson, handing me a basic wooden wand. She promised to teach me the basic fireball spell first. All I had to do was focus my mana and picture fire right on the tip of the wand. To demonstrate, she summoned a tiny orange flame on hers. I tried it, and boom, a massive fireball ignited on mine. Tina completely froze, her voice cut off mid-sentence. She was literally about to explain how it takes days, or even months to master this spell, but I just did it instantly. I casually tossed the roaring fireball at some empty dirt. Massive explosion, leaving a half-meter crater of completely scorched earth behind. But get this, we are just getting started with the crazy stuff. I pictured raw lightning on my wand. Crackling blue electricity instantly surged and shot right out, shattering a boulder 15 meters away into tiny pieces. Next, I tried manifesting a wind blade. It sliced clean through a massive tree trunk, leaving a mirror-smooth cut on wood thick as a bowl. Tina stood there speechless. She had taken 3 whole days just to learn fireball, back when she was a student. Even though her own master called her a prodigy, I just mastered 3 complex spells in minutes. And honestly, I figured out 2 entirely by myself. She started shaking, staring at me. She asked if I really just learned them. Those 3 moves only drained a fifth of my mana, meaning I had 15 total spells ready, and each blast was strong enough to crush 2 or 3 dozen rookie knights. Tina nervously wiped some sweat from her forehead, before begging me to formally become her student. I stared at this girl barely 2 years my senior, and flat out said no. Calling a teenager my master felt like I was getting a pretty bad deal. She snapped and revealed she was actually a 4th rank mage. My jaw dropped. Believe me, a 4th rank mage can flatten a town. That alone proved just how talented she actually was, so I agreed to study under her, but never as her master. She pouted and looked away. I kept practicing until my mana completely ran dry, then finally stopped. Tina noted that I only needed real battle experience now. After a break, I gathered the entire castle to announce my big plan. To celebrate my new rank as a magic warrior, I was giving away all our stored food to feed every single person in the territory. Mrs. Ellen immediately asked what we would eat ourselves. I told her not to sweat it, sending a trusted knight straight to Mo City to buy 5,000 pounds of grain. We only needed to save enough for our own lunch. I handed out everyone's tasks. Mrs. Ellen would set up the massive pot in the courtyard. Ruth and the maids were on cooking duty. Jonathan and the knights had to haul grain from the cellar. Robert would spread the word throughout the territory, while a rider dashed to Mo City for supplies. Linda asked what her job was, so I told her to. She is told to look after the castle gardens and turn it into a beautiful courtyard. She cheerfully dashed away, totally oblivious that she just got assigned busy work. Meanwhile, Robert marches through the village banging a loud gong, shouting that lunch is completely free. The villagers are completely stunned. Most of them have not eaten a real meal in days. Before long, crowds start rushing toward the castle gates, holding broken old bowls and wearing ragged clothes. They look incredibly pale, thin, and totally exhausted. A massive steaming pot sits ready, piled with fresh bread, filled with hot, meaty rice porridge underneath. Jonathan keeps the hungry crowd organized. Grown-ups receive a bowl of porridge and 2 pieces of bread, while the kids get one of each. But once they see that there is real, actual meat in the soup, they nearly cry tears of joy. For every single person fed, I earn 1 valuable reputation point. With roughly 200 villagers eating here, I rake in 220 points from this single feast. But check this out. A tiny girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, accidentally bumps into me, spilling food all over my robes. Her mother instantly panics, dropping straight to her knees in terror. Begging for mercy, I just gently pinch the girl's cheek, telling her she shouldn't be running around like that, or she gets a spanking. Then, Vivian boldly asks if we can have this delicious meat porridge again. Her mother completely freezes at her child's daring question, but I smile and promise Vivian that of course we will, and she will eat even better food in the future. That sweet promise gets me 2 reputation points from Vivian, and 1 more from her mother. I head upstairs to change my outfit, and by the time I return, the courtyard is completely spotless. Every single villager has already gone back to work. I originally planned to head back and sell snow cakes in Mod City, but with all the gold I extorted from Anthony, I am totally set. Suddenly, a massive roar shakes the entire sky, echoing from somewhere far away. Tina rushes over with an incredibly grave expression, and warns me that a massive dragon has appeared. A truly terrifying monster on this magic continent. Dragons always mean absolute destruction. They burn and slaughter with 0 restraint. I quickly grabbed my favorite blade, the legendary green steel sword, a gift from the original Chris's father for his coming of age. Outside, Tina and Linda, Jonathan, and 3 first-ranked knights stood ready. With every fighter I had, we chased the roar, right to the border of Anthony's land. Look at that, a massive black dragon in his fields. Nearly 30 meters of pure dark scales. Its forewings spanned over 20 meters, horns on its head and glowing red eyes, terrifying. It was spitting fire, torching the crops. A knight in silver armor was fighting it alone, dodging heavy jaws while landing powerful strikes. Jonathan estimated he was at least rank 6. Luckily, this dragon was only a juvenile, a rank 5 magical beast in terms of power. Even if its true potential was a rank 9, on this continent, they grow a rank every 10 years. But without training, most get killed early. They just can't stop causing total chaos. So young, Anthony stood nearby, watching his hard work burn. He looked ready to burst into tears. First, I squeezed every coin out of him, and now his crops were burning. But when he noticed me looking, he quickly ordered his bearded knight, dragged the entire battle over to my land. I saw right through his scheme. And just like that, the chaos heads our way. I turned to Linda. I asked if we could use soul crystals to tame it, but she just shook her head. Even if its current power is only rank 5, its soul is still a rank 9 entity. Our low-level crystals only work on rank 3. Max. Forget that then, time to count our own forces. We have that mysterious rank 6 knight fighting it, plus Tina, our rank 4 mage, and Jonathan, a solid rank 3 knight, with Linda as a second rank mage and myself a first rank magic warrior, and 3 first rank knights. We had a real shot to kill this thing. Jonathan finally noticed. Those enemy knights were driving the wounded beast straight toward us, asking if we should try to stop them. I told him to hold on, that dragon was being lured closer and closer to my own border. Anthony's third rank knight was taking a severe beating during the process. But watch this, the beast finally crosses onto my territory. I unsheathed my green steel sword with a sharp, ringing sound. Jonathan quickly asked what my plan was. Staring directly at the monster, I simply replied, one word at a time, I am going to slay it. Jonathan immediately tried to talk me out of it, arguing this was a 5th rank magical beast. But Tina argued that with all of us working together, alongside that 6th rank knight, we actually have a chance here. Plus, a dragon corpse is loaded with highly valuable magical materials. Linda also looked pretty eager to fight. Seeing he was completely outnumbered, Jonathan drew his sword. Anthony, watching from his own side, felt pretty relieved the dragon finally left his land, smugly hoping it destroys mine. His wounded knights pulled back to nurse their injuries, leaving only that 6th rank knight to keep fighting. The clash had already scorched one of my best fields to absolute ash. I charged straight in with my sword in one hand, wand in the other. Tina and Linda rushed right behind me, while Jonathan brought up the rear, bringing those other knights. Just 7 of us. I opened the assault with a lightning bolt to its head. The beast staggered, roaring furiously, then viciously swiped at me with massive claws. I rolled aside and lunged at its thick paw, but my sword just sparked uselessly off its heavy scales, without even scratching them. Its defense was way beyond anything I could break. At my current level, suddenly, Linda bound the dragon with massive green vines, each as thick as a man's thigh. Then, Tina floated up into the air and unleashed a spell called Magic Storm. An 8-meter-tall tornado of pure raw magic power that tore right into the dragon's scales, peeling them off in massive bloody patches. Our dragon roared out in pain. The 6th rank knight seized his opening. His aura blazed as he gripped his sword with both hands and brought it crashing down onto the dragon's skull. The impact sent heavy shockwaves rippling through the air, slamming that massive head straight into the ground, leaving a deep crater behind. Unlike any normal beast that would try to flee, a dragon never runs. It got right back up. Jonathan and I charged, while the other knights hacked at its exposed spots, opening up several bleeding wounds. But this monster was way tougher than I expected. Even at 5th rank, its attack and defense easily outclassed any typical 6th rank beast. The only reason we even stood a chance was because the creature had exhausted itself earlier from spraying fire so many damn times. I yelled at everyone to keep attacking and not let it recover while aiming fireballs at its eyes. But the dragon closed its thick eyelids just in time, and the explosions just fizzled against its face. Suddenly, it broke free of the vines and counterattacked, swinging its deadly spiked tail like a giant whip across a massive arc, hitting several of us at once. Ouch, that hit felt exactly like getting rammed by a truck, and threw me back over 10 meters. Tina and Linda handled it way better, using their sturdy magic shields. The 6th rank knight pressed even harder, keeping the dragon completely focused on defending, preventing any more counterattacks. He came here specifically to slay this beast, and now, with our help, he saw his chances had just improved significantly. Right across on his side of the border, Anthony and his knights stood watching, staring with their jaws wide open. They wanted the beast to wreck my territory, but instead, it was getting absolutely wrecked. Anthony was utterly lost. How a 4th rank mage was helping me, or how I could even cast magic. His entire worldview was completely shattered. Just then, the 6th rank knight leapt high, his battle aura erupting without limit, shouting out the name of his ultimate move, Heavenly Blazing Slash. His 6th rank knight aura blazed with gold as he raised his heavy sword, projecting a 5-meter blade of energy. The dragon sensed danger and prepared a massive black sphere of magic from its horns. The 2 devastating attacks clashed in a wild blast of wind and black lightning. The knight's strike cut straight through and split open the massive dragon's skull, sending blood flowing like a dark river. But the dragon was not finished. It swiped back fiercely with its claws, though the knight dodged it in time. Then get ready for this. The dragon stabbed its own chest with claws, ripping open 3 bloody holes. Tina warned me it was using a rare ability, known as Berserk Mode. The beast wrapped itself in its own blood, turning red and releasing an absolutely terrifying aura. Even the 6th rank knight backed away. The dragon quickly gathered crimson light into a 4-meter wide energy ball and blasted it right at us. The 6th rank knight raised a silver barrier. Tina quickly conjured a magic shield, while Linda grew hard in trees for cover. But the blast was utterly devastating. It turned everything within 2 kilometers to ash, shattering straight through all our defenses, and exploded right in the middle of us. I was blown dozens of meters away, coughing blood. Jonathan's heavy armor was cracked. 2 of our 3 first-rank knights were knocked completely cold, and both Tina's and Linda's wands snapped. Meanwhile, Anthony was cheering from the sidelines. They loved seeing us get crushed. We regrouped fast. Sticking together was our only hope, so I decided to try something. I focused all my battle energy into my left hand, forming the silver dragon. 18 dragons subduing palms. Then, something completely insane happened. The second my energy dragon manifested, the giant beast froze in terror. It dropped down, covering its head with its claws, shaking like crazy. Turns out, my battle skill had a natural suppression effect against dragons. The 6th rank knight instantly recognized that perfect opening, and screamed for everyone to unleash their absolute strongest attacks. He triggered his heaven-shattering slash. Jonathan used double slash while Tina whipped up a tornado, while Linda summoned a deadly giant flytrap. My energy dragon slammed its skull. Insane, it literally blasted a bloody hole. Its rage faded, shrinking the dragon back to its weak, normal form. It took the full brunt and crashed down. Still barely alive, I charged forward with my green steel sword, stabbing deep. With my aura's help, the blade sank completely. The massive beast shuddered twice, then went completely still. 300 reputation points. Everyone gathered around to confirm the massive kill. The 6th rank knight was shocked my battle skill could actually suppress a dragon. I confessed I had no idea why it worked. Honestly, maybe it just did. He introduced himself as Count Ford of Silent Ridge. I bowed politely, introducing myself as Baron Chris. He praised my incredible strength for my young age, calling my future limitless. I thanked him, keeping it humble. Count Ford flipped the beast over, slicing its soft belly, and pulled out a mysterious, fist-sized black sphere. The dragon core. He asked if he could take it, and leave the rest of the corpse to me. I agreed without hesitating. The dragon core was super valuable, but a whole dragon carcass, far more valuable. Ford tells me to track him down in Silent Ridge. If I ever need help, he says, before quickly taking off. I clap my hands together and grin. Time to check out our massive loot haul. Tina explains our loot. These dragon fangs have excellent magic conducting properties, perfect to forge into a legendary dragon tooth sword. Ultimate gear for a magic swordsman like me. The horns are top-tier magic materials for her and Linda's wild experiments. We can craft the skin and scales into armor, and the meat is completely edible, which is rare here. Meanwhile, Anthony is clenching his fists so hard, nails biting deeply into palms. Under noble law, whatever falls inside a lord's land belongs solely to them. This entire beast is legally mine, because it died right on my territory, the exact land Anthony tried to drive it onto. He burns with jealousy, but there is absolutely nothing he can do. Look closely. Jonathan points right at my hand. Crimson scales have started growing on the back of it, right where that hot dragon blood splashed my skin when I rammed my sword straight through its skull. Tina confirms it. Only the spots touched by blood actually transformed. The others try rubbing the blood on themselves too, but absolutely nothing happens. It only works on me. Right then, the system drops a new quest. Gather the dragon blood and take a full bath in it. The final reward is a powerful dragon human form. I order Jonathan to drag the massive beast back to the castle. We need to drain and collect every single drop, even the blood-soaked dirt from this battlefield. Carrying that monstrous beast back, every single citizen in my territory witnesses the sight. They are stunned their young lord killed a dragon. Reputation points start absolutely skyrocketing. Over 100 points just for walking home, combined with that 300 from the actual kill. Just taking down this single dragon scored me 400 reputation points. Back at the castle, Robert was completely stunned. I quickly ordered my servants to drain all the remaining blood directly into a bathtub, just for me, then told Mrs. Ellen that we would be eating dragon meat for dinner. Once I changed, Ruth came to report that my dragon blood bath was ready. I headed right to the third-floor bathroom, where a massive, wooden tub was filled right to the brim with red liquid. Honestly, that thick blood smell was overwhelming. I instructed Ruth to keep pouring in more blood as needed, and not to get scared. No matter what happened to my body, I stripped down and slowly climbed inside. The blood felt amazingly warm, just like a hot spring. Red scales immediately started growing all over my skin, wherever the thick blood touched. Sinking down, I kept only my head above the red surface, staring up at the ceiling, and drifted off to sleep before I even realized it. When I woke up, nearly half the dragon blood had been absorbed. I quickly stepped out of the tub and walked to the mirror to see what had changed. Looking into the glass, I could barely recognize myself as human anymore. My entire body was covered in thick red scales, my fingers tipped with sharp, dangerous claws. A pair of 10-centimeter horns pushed out from the very top of my head, and a pair of small, dark red wings sprouted from my back. Clenching my fist, I felt this absolutely incredible power surge. My connection to the magic drifting around was somehow way stronger now. Fire elements gathered at my fingertips, and with just a single snap, a flame erupted in my palm. The system confirmed my new reward. Dragon human form, I estimated. My total combat power had increased by 50%. With one quick thought, the scales faded away and I returned to normal. This form was not free, though. It constantly drained my battle, aura, or magic power, and at my current level, I could only maintain this form for about 5 minutes. Just as I was stepping out of the washroom, I bumped right into Ruth carrying yet another bucket of dragon blood. She mentioned a pretty powerful looking beast of a horse had just appeared outside. Naturally, I went. The dragon's massive carcass was already being processed. Horns cut, scales stripped clean, skin completely peeled away. Servants collected the very last drops of blood. Jonathan pointed toward a strange horse a few hundred meters away. It was absolutely massive, easily 2 meters tall, easily half again taller than any ordinary horse. Its muscles were insanely developed. Our knights were warily keeping watch on it. Jonathan explained they stumbled on it while gathering spilled dragon blood across the old battlefield. Oddly, the horse wasn't afraid of humans at all. The creature followed the knights straight back. It refused to leave, so I grabbed a bucket of dragon blood. I set it down nearby, then took a step back. The horse walked right up. It began drinking right before my eyes. Shimmering scales suddenly started growing. 2 sharp bumps rose on its head, and a pair of dangerous fangs sprouted in its mouth. That's when I realized this was a dragon-blooded horse, a beast carrying actual dragon lineage. Which makes us wonder, does my own body have dragon blood, too? Since I was also able to absorb dragon blood, but I found absolutely nothing in Chris's memories linking his family to any dragons. I slowly tried approaching the beast, but the moment I got within 3 meters, it spun around and kicked hard. I barely managed to catch its hoof with crossed arms, but the pure impact pushed me back over a dozen steps. This beast was 7, or maybe 8 times stronger than any normal horse. It could easily run thousands of miles in a single day, and it would only keep getting stronger if I continued feeding it this dragon blood. I decided not to force the issue, and sent Jonathan right away to fetch Linda instead. Once she arrived, I asked her to teach me how to use the soul crystal. Linda drew a weird symbol on the parchment. Then she made me drip my blood on it. The paper immediately lit up with glowing colors. Now I just needed a drop of blood from that wild horse. I drew my sword and charged straight ahead. Jonathan and 2 knights cornered it from 3 sides. But it was not helpless. Those weird bumps on its forehead grew into sharp horns. Wild energy quickly condensed into a massive orange fireball, exactly the size of a soccer ball. This beast could actually use magic. Believe it or not, its power matched a first-rank magical beast. Now I wanted it even more. That dragon-blooded stallion was incredibly smart. It aimed the burning sphere at our weakest knight, blasting him right back. That completely broke our tight circle. It bolted for freedom, but I was not letting it get away. Since it drank my own dragon blood, I instantly unleashed my dragon human form. Red scales covered my skin. Power exploded through my muscles. I shot straight forward like an absolute cannonball. Red after images blurred right behind me. The beast kicked up a massive screen of dirt, but I crashed through without losing a step. It hurled another blast my way, but in dragon form. Watch this. I caught it and crushed it barehanded. Sparking flames leaped between my fingers. Small flames suddenly ignited beneath the stallion hooves, sprinting even faster. I flapped my compact wings, launching myself high into the air, right directly above the beast. Landing on its back, it started thrashing wildly. It desperately tried throwing me off, so I punched its head. I controlled my punch to avoid killing it. The beast collapsed, completely knocked out cold. I lightly nicked its neck for some blood, then pressed my soul crystal right against the wound. The dull stone immediately turned blood red. Linda began chanting the contract ritual. The bloody parchment slowly floated into the air. It wrapped around the crystal and melted right in. The passed-out horse twitched. Its eyes suddenly snapped open. A glowing red mark appeared on its forehead. I could feel our souls linking together, like a thin, invisible thread when it stood up. It wasn't resisting me anymore. I hopped on and urged it to sprint. The speed was completely insane. Actual flames shot out from its hooves. We easily hit 150 kilometers per hour. The wind was pretty brutal, forcing me to press flat against its back. Talk about a massive rush. Back home at the castle, I tested the soul crystal, pulling the magical beast right back inside. A dark portal opened up, and it strolled inside, before the vortex shrank back into the glass orb. Super convenient. The massive dragon carcass had been completely drained, and fully chopped up. I asked Robert where the loot was being stored, and I followed him straight downstairs. Inside the first room, I spotted the giant fangs. Both were over 1 meter long, still fresh with dragon blood. Arranged along the wall were 16 sharp dragon claws. Around 50 or 60 teeth littered the stone floor. Some massive, others quite small. My next move, crystal clear. Those fangs would be forged into a deadly longsword, the ultimate weapon for a magic swordsman like myself. These claws would make great daggers and short swords. They wouldn't channel magic like the fangs did, but they would be insanely sharp. Perfect for gearing up an elite shadow squad. I'd turn the smaller teeth into some backup axes. As backup options, I tossed the 2 long fangs into my spatial ring, and then walked into the next room over. This second chamber was packed with thick dragon scales, literally covering the whole floor. There were thousands of palm-sized scales, almost 2 centimeters thick. They felt ice cold when I tested one with my sword. I could barely manage to leave a tiny scratch on it. Gear made from this could easily block a heavy strike, coming from any low-ranking knight. I grabbed 100 prime pieces, throwing them straight into my storage ring, to get some top-tier armor crafted in Mod City. The third room held the actual dragon hide, folded up nicely like a heavy blanket. It measured about half a centimeter thick, feeling incredibly smooth yet insanely tough. Pair that with the scales, you've got armor that is basically cheat code level. Then there was a thick dragon tendon, yellowish and thumb thick. I cut off a 10-centimeter strip, and stretched it out to 50 centimeters. Absolutely perfect material for a bow. The piercing power would easily surpass any standard weapon. Robert even offered to find some prime dragon bone later, so he could craft a custom bow for me. I really appreciated that. Once outside, 5 ox carts pulled up with 100 sacks of grain, the 5,000 pounds I ordered. Right after Shiloh finished making the deal, the grain merchant asked for a single gold coin to settle the bill, so I casually tossed him one from my storage ring. Having 2 rings meant I could carry all my funds at once. Pretty soon, it was time for dinner. I had Ruth summon everyone who helped take down the dragon into the main dining hall. Mrs. Ellen served up huge platters of roasted dragon meat. The smell alone, absolutely mouth-watering. Robert, being the perfect host, raised a warm toast to me, thanking me for sharing such a rare and legendary feast. That toast alone scored me 16 reputation points from the 8 people sitting with me. The dragon meat tasted a bit like beef, but way chewier and incredibly flavorful. The instant I swallowed that first bite, warmth immediately spread through my stomach. Instantly, a crazy wave of energy hits. My body felt way stronger and tougher. Everyone who ate the meat had the same reaction. Their cheeks flushed with brand new energy, which triggered another wave of reputation points. From each person, I opened my panel. My reputation hit 837 of 2,000. In only a few days, I was almost halfway there. Insane, isn't it? I will hit 2nd rank magic warrior in 2 weeks. Eating 2 whole plates of dragon meat, my stomach felt like a blazing hot furnace was inside, and my raw strength keeps climbing up. Everyone at the table felt it too, especially my loyal knights. Their battle aura grew quite a bit stronger. I made a mental note, if I ever get the chance, Hunting down more dragons is a must. Later, I headed up to the castle's 4th floor, standing alone, staring out at my dark lands. Don't celebrate just yet. The looming threat of those dark mages, staring at me from the dark. My chest tightened. Suddenly, Tina appeared right next to me at the window. That's when I spotted something in a massive tree, down in the courtyard. I whipped out my wand and blasted it with a bolt of lightning. A black shadow tumbled out of the branches. Using a quick wind spell, I pulled it right up. It was a bizarre bird with the body of a cuckoo, but with an owl's head. Another splice beast sent to spy on me. I searched the creepy thing, but found no letters or useful clues. Those creeping dark mages made me furious. Tina just chuckled softly, telling me not to stress. She mentioned they are quite busy with other plans, and won't be coming for me anytime soon, so I quickly asked her what she actually knew. She had definitely run into them before. After all, they were the ones who hurt her, so she spilled everything. Their organization is called the Edmund Society. They are actively operating in the Northwest Eagle Kingdom. It commanded over 100 dark mages. Over 10 of those dark mages were 3rd rank or above. Their leader Edmund, he was a 5th ranked dark mage. They even kept a 6th ranked dragon. I felt a massive chill run through me, just thinking about that 5th ranked dragon. The one our entire team barely killed today. A 6th ranked dragon is just incomprehensibly powerful. And, if every dark mage in their group is as strong as Blake, that one-eyed mage, they could each easily handle a 3rd ranked knight and a 2nd ranked mage simultaneously. Tina warned me, they probably wouldn't bother me for about a year. But after that, I would face the full force of the Edmund Society. She actually suggested that I should just flee the Eagle Kingdom to survive. But I refused, telling her I wasn't going anywhere. I will completely destroy the Edmund Society. Those evil dark mages have no place in this world. That declaration earned me 5 reputation points from Tina. Her eyes lit up as she told me she'd stand and fight by my side until the end. So I asked her to take charge of castle security and sweep the entire territory using her magic to eliminate every single splice by creature. I couldn't let the enemy see all my cards before the real war even begins. Tina promised to do a full sweep tomorrow. This situation, seriously bad news. I was facing a massive enemy that knew everything about me, while I knew almost nothing about their forces. But I wasn't alone. I had real allies, loyal people, and a system that could help me level up faster than anyone could ever imagine. A single year is incredibly tight, but I'm not quitting. Tina quickly reminded me that I needed to recruit way more powerful knights and mages before that 1-year deadline hits, or we wouldn't stand a single chance against the Edmund Society. I agreed, but first, I had to develop my territory. Even without gold and resources, supporting any new recruits was totally out. Still, she offered to join me in Mott City tomorrow, using her wind magic to whip the cream. No more hand stirring all night. Way faster that way. Honestly, how did I completely overlook that simple trick? That night, I planned my next steps. Step 1, build up industries in Hopetown. Grow the territory to rake in that sweet reputation. Next, forge those dragon materials into gear. I needed to do it immediately. Super curious. Imagine the kind of weapon those fangs will make. The next morning, post-breakfast, I invited Linda to join me in Mott City. She could help choose the best fruit tree saplings. Linda instantly agreed, swearing she could make any purchase grow, sprouting in mere days. I summoned my dragon-blooded mount, popped it out from its crystal ball for Tina and Linda, while I rode the chestnut mare instead. Hit the road. My little mare kept drifting toward the dragon horse. Jonathan smiled and explained she was female. The dragon horse was male. She was totally into him, but he was not interested. He just kept glaring, but I let them be. Maybe one day, we might actually get a hybrid dragon-blooded foal. Before entering the city, I recalled the beast. No need to draw attention to those glowing scales. We passed right through the gates, heading straight to my rented shop. But guess who was waiting right outside? Byron was pacing outside looking utterly panicked. He gasped that Raymond was desperate since I missed yesterday. His precious daughter absolutely needed her snow cake. I quickly apologized, explaining I was busy, and promised daily snow cake batches starting right now. As Byron kept rushing me, I unlocked the shop, handing Jonathan coin to fetch some fresh ingredients, kindly asking Byron to wait outside. After all, this recipe is a trade secret. Byron gets the trade secret thing and takes off, promising to head back in an hour. Soon, Jonathan returns with a massive pile of ingredients. And now, Instead of making his knights whip everything by hand, Tina unleashes her wind magic. She points her wand at the mixing basins, summoning mini whirlwinds inside. They whip the egg whites in under 1 minute. Honestly, the knights are completely speechless. The entire batch of cream takes barely 10 minutes, way faster than last time. I put Linda in charge of calling out to customers. Having a cute young girl shouting about snow cake works wonders. She draws way more people than those gruff-looking knights. Jonathan looks incredibly relieved. The utter shame from earlier clearly scarred him, but Linda has a massive voice, echoing down several busy streets. Unlike before, our snow cake already has quite a reputation, so repeat customers start swarming in. Quickly, a line of 20 or 30 people wraps around our stall. With more coming, silver coins keep clinking into our jar. Best of all, reputation points roll in nonstop. Meanwhile, Tina keeps whipping up cream nonstop in the back. Suddenly, a squad of city guards in polished silver armor pushes brutally through the crowd, shoving customers away. Their leader is a young man in his mid-20s, a tall, muscular guy who looks exactly like Anthony. This is Howard Hughes, Anthony's older brother. He is the eldest Hughes family son. Next in line to become Viscount, Howard demands to know who gave us permission to set up out here. I calmly tell him there is no rule against this. He claims we are completely blocking traffic. I snap back that no other business gets crowds this huge, especially not that failing Red Date cake shop, which happens to be owned by his family. And there is his real, incredibly petty motive. Our snow cake is totally ruining his sales. Furious, he thrusts his heavy spear right at our stall. I casually grab the spear shaft with one hand, stopping it cold. He pushed with everything he had, but it wouldn't budge. Remember, he was a second-ranked knight. The shock on his face was absolutely priceless. Eating actual dragon meat, and unlocking my powerful dragon human form. My raw muscle power now easily matched a second-ranked knight. With a quick shove, I sent him stumbling backward. Furious, he unleashed his battle aura. Refusing to accept this, I pulled out my green steel sword and wand from my spatial ring, showing him that I wasn't just some ordinary knight. I was actually a first-rank magic warrior. His mind completely broke. I warned him that if he was here to start trouble, he should probably turn around and crawl home. Then I mocked him for still being stuck at second rank, while the other two Viscount family heirs had already reached the third rank. Direct hit. That nerve was shattered. Better just stay locked indoors, I sneered. So absolutely nobody could laugh at you. Howard saw red and wildly swung his heavy spear at me. I parried with my sword as sparks flew. The sudden shockwave pushed the entire crowd back. Before he could strike, a sudden blast of wind erupted beneath him, blasting him backward dozens of meters away, crashing face first straight into the dirt. Tina stepped out from the shop and coldly uttered one word, scram. Howard stared at the 4-star badge pinned to her robe, his face drained of color. A fourth-rank mage. He scrambled to his feet and bolted. Tina just went back inside without another word. After a moment of stunned silence, customers lined up again, and we smoothly went back to selling. Just wait till you hear his next move. He stormed into his family's Red Date cake shop, located on the very same street, absolutely furious. He lost it when he learned they'd only sold 3 cakes. Meanwhile, we had sold dozens of snow cakes. To silver each, he snapped at his manager. Stephen, to slash prices in half, from 20 copper to 10. Then, despite claiming he'd never touch our stuff, he absolutely scarfed down the whole bowl of snow cake, licking it clean. Once he finished, his entire face flushed bright red. And somehow, I actually gained 1 reputation point from him. I seriously couldn't process it. I literally just insulted and humiliated him. Yet he rewards me with reputation. I made a mental note to stay far away from that weirdo. So, I kept selling. I even got a custom sign made, featuring Hopetown, in tiny font, with snow cake written in massive letters. I wanted to build up my territory's brand. The more the name Hopetown spread, the more free citizens would come to settle down and become my subjects, earning me reputation. But then, news came that Howard finally dropped his date cakes to 10 copper. I didn't care. My customers were strictly here for the snow cake, and absolutely none of them budged. Furious, Howard dropped it to 5 copper, well below cost. Stephen warned him they'd lose serious cash, but Howard snapped that as a proud Viscount family, he couldn't lose to a country baron. He immediately sent kids sprinting through the streets, screaming about the massive discount. The folks in my line barely looked up. Before going right back to waiting, I couldn't help but smile. Imagine trying to beat a 21st century dessert by starting a cheap price war with date cakes. The guy has a lot to learn. But honestly, his desperate moves didn't scare me. His basic date cakes and my premium snow cakes targeted entirely different crowds. His stuff was just mashed dates, stuffed inside bread with just a little sugar, and sold at 3 times the normal bread price. But mine featured real 21st century cream, something this fantasy world had never tasted. Within less than an hour, I sold 80 servings for 160 silver coins, bagging 80 reputation points. Once I knew Howard wasn't a threat anymore, I handed the shop to Jonathan and walked out, bringing Linda along to shop for fruit saplings. I recalled, there was a botanical market in Mo City, where regular citizens sold their homegrown seedlings. I wanted apples, pears, grapes, and oranges, familiar fruits from my former world, that were pretty easy to process. My plan was to teach my people how to brew fruit, wine, juice, and jam, building up new industries for our territory. I stopped by a money exchange to break 5 silver coins down to copper, just in case. The market was incredibly lively, packed with vendors everywhere selling flowers, herbs, and saplings. We hit an apple tree stall first. The seller had over 20 saplings at 20 copper each. Linda carefully inspected them and pointed out 3 defective ones to avoid. Even the merchant was shocked. He'd been a fruit grower for over 15 years and couldn't easily spot those bad ones. Yet this young girl picked them out instantly. I bought the remaining 20. We kept shopping and ended up with 20 apple saplings, minus 1 grapevines, 50 pear trees, and 50 orange trees. Linda's expertise saved me from buying bad stock. Just as we were about to leave, watch this, Linda suddenly froze, pointing at something, ready to shout. I clamped my hand over her mouth just in time. Sitting on a nearby stall was a black seed, about walnut-sized, oval-shaped and glossy. The vendor, a skinny guy, claimed it was some heirloom black pearl flower, demanding 20 copper. I pretended to not care and started walking away, but he chased us, dropping the price down to 5 copper. I turned back, tossed 5 coins down, grabbed the seed, and left quickly. Once we got safely away, I finally let go of her. She was buzzing with excitement. It was a magical plant, a seed packed with intense magical energy. If I hadn't stepped in before she could blurt that out, that merchant would have instantly jacked the price up to at least 5 gold coins. Magical plants always cost gold, after all. Instead, we walked away with an absolute steal, for only 5 copper coins. Getting those 5 copper seeds had me totally thrilled. Linda still couldn't quite identify them. She needed to actually grow them first, to find out what kind of magical plant they were. So I handed the seeds over for safekeeping, when suddenly, a familiar voice called out from behind. It was my big brother, Brent Jordan, the eldest son and Viscount heir. At 25, he looked a whole lot like me. He was holding a pretty flower pot he'd bought. Since we actually hadn't crossed paths in over a month, he immediately threw his arm around my neck and dragged me to go see grandmother. Talk about perfect timing, right? Our family actually had a mid-level blacksmith, someone who could forge my new dragon fang sword. Linda hesitated, unsure about tagging along, so I quickly waved her along. We reached the Jordan family's grand manor in about 10 minutes, heading to a side courtyard. Grandmother Lady Vitri sat resting in a long chair. She was around 70, with white hair and wrinkled skin, but kept a warm, kind smile. She grabbed my hands tightly and said, I looked quite a bit stronger than before. Then she noticed Linda standing behind me, asking if she was my future baroness. Linda blushed a deep red and frantically shook her head. I quickly introduced them properly. Grandmother grew instantly fond of her, and kept warmly holding her hand, looking back and forth at us with a knowing grin. Linda was far too embarrassed to look up. Then, this incredibly annoying voice ruins the warm moment. Out walked my annoying cousin, Plato Jordan. He was my uncle's son, in his early 20s. He was tall and stick-thin, with a pointy, sharp chin. In his hands were 5 paper bowls tied together. That snow cake came from my own shop. He had absolutely no idea. Plato sneered, bragging about bringing grandmother a treat, the single most popular dessert in Mo City, to silver coins for each bowl. Then he basically suggested a poor country baron like me probably couldn't even afford it, and mockingly offered me a quick taste. Linda couldn't stay quiet. She flat out told him I invented that snow cake, owned the shop, and that we ate it every day until we got sick of it. Honestly, The room went dead silent. Plato started stammering, asking if the whole ancient secret recipe thing was a lie. I just told him it was marketing. He asked about that supposed 1 silver coin cost. I told him the real cost was 18 copper, a tenfold profit. Everyone gasped, especially Brent, since, as the future Viscount, managing family businesses, where double or triple returns were normal, 10 times profit was totally beyond anything he could imagine. Sweating bullets, Plato desperately tried to recover by mocking me for showing up empty-handed to grandmother. Brent quickly tried to cover for me, saying the potted flour was from both of us, but before he could even finish, I casually reached into my spatial ring and pulled out a massive slab of bright red meat. I proudly told grandmother it was 10 pounds of dragon meat, perfect for strengthening her body and ensuring she lives a long, healthy life, and honestly, everyone froze right there. Brent's hand holding the potted flour froze midair. Plato's eyes went totally wide. He couldn't believe I had real dragon meat. Linda casually explained that we teamed up with a 6th-ranked knight to hunt down a dragon yesterday. Plato immediately assumed the knight had just tossed us some leftovers as payment. But then, Linda almost blurted out that we kept the entire dragon carcass. I had to lunge forward and cover her mouth again. Seriously, this girl had zero filter. If anyone found out I had a whole dragon carcass, everyone would come hunting for me. Grandmother smiled warmly, saying she loved any gift from her grandson. She ordered the servants to cook the dragon meat and insisted we all stay to eat. Brent and Plato literally couldn't stop staring at it as it got carried off in the capital. Dragon meat sold for 1 gold coin a pound, and that's if you could find it. And Plato, he kept pushing for details, so Linda told them it was a 5th-ranked dragon that actually used berserk mode, and that I did most of the heavy lifting, actually delivering the final blow. Brent and Plato both gasped in pure shock, since they thought I was just some normal guy. But Linda set them straight. I was a magic warrior. Plato absolutely refused to believe her, claiming I made a little girl lie for me. Then he challenged me to a one-on-one duel. Brent shook his head in warning, telling me to walk away. Plato was a peak 2nd-ranked knight, way too strong for a 1st-rank warrior, but I accepted. Grandmother gave us her blessing, saying young men need a little fire in them. Plato and I headed straight to the training grounds, a massive field the size of a soccer pitch, where the house guards normally practice. The captain cleared the whole area for us. Plato grabbed a sword from the nearby rack, smirking as he waved me forward. I unsheathed my green steel sword and wand from my storage rings, and stepped into a fighting stance. He froze, seeing I actually had spatial rings, and then realized I was wearing 2 of them. Talk about a total blow to his ego. He told me to hit him first, and I did not hold back, rushing forward at a speed that shocked the crowd, before launching a lightning bolt right from my wand. Plato's eyes widened, quickly bringing his sword up to block. Realizing that Linda was telling the absolute truth, I was pretty amazed when the lightning actually struck Plato's sword, sending a massive electric shock straight through the conducting metal, right into his hand. Guess he forgot metal is a pretty good conductor. His entire arm went numb, causing his grip to falter. The surrounding guards gasped in sheer disbelief at my sudden magic. Even Sam, the 4th-rank guard captain, noticed the bright battle aura radiating from my blade. A magic swordsman who is both knight and mage, I charged in instantly and brought my sword down with immense pressure. He barely raised his weapon in time to block. Blades clashed, sending bright sparks flying. I could instantly feel how much my strength shocked him. Next, I launched a blazing fireball directly at his face. He ducked just in time. The intense heat singed some hair as it flew past his head. Then, he leapt backward to get some breathing room. The first exchange went totally my way, but deep down, I knew it only worked because of surprise and his sheer arrogance. Once Plato actually started taking me seriously, things were about to get tough. Watch him charge. Charging like a literal cannonball, I threw a wind blade, but he sliced right through it without even slowing. Our swords collided again, and I instantly felt the difference. His sheer power felt like a mountain. I got forced back 3 or 4 painful steps, while he stood completely still. He pressed his brutal attack relentlessly, swinging his sword so incredibly fast I could barely keep up. I was constantly being driven backward. Time to go absolutely massive. I fused wind and fire magic together, creating a blazing tornado. A flame vortex so hot it literally warped the surrounding air. Linda screamed from the sidelines, warning me that dual element magic was incredibly difficult, and insanely dangerous, but Plato countered with a battle skill known as Sword Blade Storm, spinning his powerful aura into a silver cyclone. Both deadly attacks collided in a massive explosion of fire and wind. Once the dust finally cleared, Plato was somehow still standing, even though his clothes were scorched and his hair was completely curled. With a laugh, he claimed he found my weakness. He shifted into a powerful two-handed grip and charged at me with pure physical power, but since I was fighting one-handed, sword in one hand, wand in the other, I could not match his strength. If I dropped my wand to use both hands, I would lose my magical advantage, and then it would just be a first-rank knight against a peak second-rank knight either way. He completely overwhelmed me with heavy, brutal strikes. I blocked as best as I could, but each blow sent me stumbling back. The watching guards figured Plato had already won. Plato landed a devastating kick, sending me tumbling across the dirty ground. He sneered at me. A first-rank magic warrior is nothing special. Slowly, I looked up at him from the dirt. I stared him down. Get ready, things are shifting. Dragon human form, my entire body swelled. Muscles bulged as red scales covered my skin. Massive horns grew from my head, and small dragon wings sprouted from my back. I now looked like a human dragon. Plato stumbled backward in absolute terror. Brent was completely stunned. The watching guards all gasped. I grinned and put away my wand. In this dragon form, I could cast fire magic with my bare hands. I beat my wings and shot straight forward, leaving red afterimages behind. Plato slashed hard, and our swords violently clashed. But this time, I did not budge. While he was forced back several steps, pure shock painted his face. Then I gathered blazing fire in my left claw, forming a massive fireball over 1 meter wide. The exploding fireball flew at Plato, trailing flames. He countered with a powerful battle skill, projecting a giant 2-meter silver shield of aura right in front of him. The explosion was massive, heat waves warping the air. Thick smoke rolled everywhere. Suddenly, a figure comes flying straight out of the storm, skidding dozens of meters across the hard ground. It is Plato, with his clothes completely shredded, his hair singed and his face covered in soot. I won. The entire place goes dead silent. No one expected this shock outcome. Taking a deep breath, I let my dragon form fade away. Horns, scales, and wings quickly disappear. As I shrink back to normal, Brent rushes right over and grabs my hand, asking what just happened, but I say we should discuss it on the way. We leave immediately, with Linda following behind. Guard Captain Sam just stares after our group, muttering quietly, "Our family has produced someone truly remarkable." Plato, wiping the ash from his face, swears he will absolutely pay me back, instead of heading over to grandmother's for that dragon meat lunch. I tell Brent, we need to visit the family blacksmith first. The duel with Plato showed me quite clearly just how badly I need my dragon fang sword. Without it, fighting one-handed with a sword and a wand is pretty much going to keep me at a disadvantage. Brent is totally confused, since I already have father's green steel sword. I just smile and say he'll see. We head over to the east wing of the manor where Daniel, our mid-level blacksmith, runs his forge. Inside, over a dozen shirtless, sweaty men hammer away at heavy metal. Linda takes one look, shrieks, covers her eyes, and runs back outside. Daniel's senior apprentice, Green, steps forward and offers to handle my request personally, boasting that he is quite a peak beginner-level blacksmith. I pull a massive dragon fang from my spatial ring, measuring over 1 meter long. Honestly, Green's eyes practically pop out of his skull. He stammers, "The dragon fang," and quickly scrambles away to fetch his master. Brent stares at the fang in absolute shock, asking if the 6th-rank knight was the one who gave me this. I just smiled back. Daniel arrived right after. He was a bald, 2-meter giant with rock-hard 8-pack ABS. The second he saw that dragon fang, he practically dashed right over. His hands hovered over it, desperately wanting to grab it, but he did not dare, so I just shoved it forward, telling him to take a real close look. I wanted a legendary dragon fang sword forged as soon as possible. Daniel just stared down at the fang in his grip. Seriously, he looked completely hypnotized. He had never held such an incredible crafting material before. When I asked how long the process would take, he said this legendary fang was absolute peak quality. It would require over 10,000 hammer strikes. The absolute earliest he could finish would be tomorrow afternoon. I told him to get to work immediately. He led us to his private forge deep inside the workshop. It was a soundproof 80 square meter room, equipped with a massive furnace and square forging anvil. He ordered his young apprentice to stoke the flames, and then ordered him to bring out his treasured fire crystals. These were rare, glowing red fuel stones, shaped like semi-transparent eggs, with hot liquid lava swirling inside. Daniel tossed a whole dozen of them inside, and the blazing fire instantly turned a deep, pale purple. Soon, the dragon fangs began to glow, turning white-hot from the intense heat. And then this happened. A massive, ghostly shadow erupted from the fang. It was a tiny, spectral version of the beast, standing barely 1 meter tall. It snarled and bared its teeth, looking straight at me. Those eyes burned with pure hatred. The beast definitely remembered I was the one who ended its life. Daniel was shaking with pure excitement. He yelled that this was a legendary grade dragon fang, containing the dragon's residual soul. If it works, the weapon will gain its own sword spirit. It will only recognize a single master, learning their exact moves, and provide actual combat support. Still, I wondered if the soul would accept me. Since I killed it, Daniel just laughed that off. A lingering soul has zero intelligence. Pure instinct. We just had to quench the blade with my own blood. That way, it recognizes me as its master. So I triggered my dragon human form, drew out my green steel sword, sliced open my wrist and filled a jar with blood, spilling nearly 3 liters in just 5 minutes. The blood loss made me dizzy, stripping me right out of dragon form. But since I am a first-class magic warrior, my body was pretty durable, so this blood loss wasn't exactly lethal. Daniel got super excited, saying, "Your blood is going to make this blade legendary." He yanked the glowing fang from the fire, and dumped all my blood right onto it. Red steam suddenly hissed out, choking the entire room with a metallic stench. The spectral dragon started taking solid shape. It was cloaked in thick, crimson light. Looking utterly dazed and blank, Daniel raised his heavy forging hammer. He smashed his dark forging hammer onto the fang, a deafening crash as he roared, "Return! Look at those eyes." The beast is feeling everything at once, warmth and fury, struggling deep inside. But then, its face finally softened. Spreading its tiny wings wide, it glided down and dissolved back into the fang. The steady, rhythmic pounding of the forge began. My ultimate weapon was being born. Daniel was totally lost in his craft, straightening out the curved blade with every strike. I whispered to Brent that we should head out. Once outside, Linda was complaining about those sweaty, shirtless guys. Then she saw my ghostly face and panicked. I just smiled, saying it was nothing, just lost a little blood. So we headed back to grandmother's place. The dragon meat was already cooked up and served. Plato had finally washed himself up, and shamelessly joined in on the feast too. When grandmother took a bite, her face flushed rosy, looking 10 years younger. She instantly praised it as total miracle food. I told her to eat up since we had plenty left, but she just waved me off. Dragon meat is wasted on an old woman like me, so I should save it for the youth, who actually need the strength. I joked she would easily reach 100 anyway, and immediately gained reputation points for the sweet talk. Being nice pays off, apparently. Talk about an absolute win. Brent and Plato immediately dug in like starving beasts. As knights, they felt the massive boost instantly. 1 bite saved days of training. Their inner aura was practically boiling over. Boom, 5 reputation points from each of them. Who won? Grandmother asked. Plato practically buried his face under the table, but Brent proudly blabbed that I won. He spilled everything to her, that I was a first-rank magic warrior now, and even gained a dragon, a human form from slaying it. He even explained my pale face was from blood loss during the sword forging process, and not from the clash. Plato looked like he wanted to completely vanish. Grandmother smiled. She never expected me to be this gifted, suggesting that maybe I could build an incredibly powerful family branch someday. She noted that even my father was just a trainee knight, back at my age. And here's where the real emotional truth drops. She told me not to resent my father for acting cold. He was always loaded with family head duties, but more than that, he loved my mother deeply. She passed away from complications while giving birth to me, and he wanted to die with her, holding on just for his kids, even if his heart died that day. But the original Chris never knew this. He just wondered why their father favored Brent so much. I promised grandmother I would find a way to talk to father, to patch things up between us. Even as a transmigrator in this body, hearing this painful family history still stung. Suddenly grandmother pulled out a tiny, purple box right from her sleeve. Inside, resting on yellow velvet, lay a pendant. A 5 centimeter heart-shaped red gemstone. Almost translucent. Look closely, a pale blue vortex swirls inside. It hung on a gold chain, she told me. That grandfather gave her this before passing away, ordering her to keep it safe, an heirloom passed down for generations. From back when our family held massive power, centuries ago, she placed it around my neck, and whispered that I was the hope to revive our glory. Touching the gem, a sudden warmth hit me. I could feel energy pulsing deep inside, synchronized right with my heartbeat. Brent and Plato both stood frozen. They had no clue this heirloom even existed, much less that grandmother would give it to me. That heart-shaped gem gave me a pretty strange, warm feeling I could not explain. It was already past 2 in the afternoon, so I said goodbye to grandmother, and left the estate with Linda, heading straight back to the snow cake shop. By then, the customer rush had finally slowed. Jonathan reported we sold 220 servings, earning 440 silver coins. A pretty massive day for profit, though reputation only grew by 160 points. The catch was, returning customers did not bring reputation. After that very first taste, I decided to slash prices to reach more people and develop brand new recipes. Building up my reputation mattered way more than gold. I only had 1 year to prepare for the Edmund Society, so I handed everyone 5 silver coins as a bonus, including Tina and Linda. The knights all gave me 5 reputation points each, but the 2 mages did not. They did not care about money, so getting paid did not make them grateful. We locked up and headed home. Along the road, I noticed something. The dragon-blooded stallion kept drifting toward me, completely ignoring the chestnut mare. He was not interested in her at all. He was strangely drawn to me, probably because the blood flowing through my veins now carried a powerful dragon element, making us feel like the same kind. So I decided to name him Dragon. Drag-on literally sounded like Jogan. Pretty funny, right? He snorted, seemingly accepting his new name. I planned to build him a custom stable, right next to the chestnut mare, with enough time together. Maybe she would produce a dragon-blooded foal someday. Heading back, we passed the peanut fields. The crops had turned incredibly lush and green. Jonathan marveled that my fertilizer method actually worked. I told him this was just basic science, and we needed to teach everyone how to use it. Going forward, think about it, they farmed for thousands of years, without ever understanding fertilizer. They just rotated fields to let the soil recover, but I could easily change that. Robert and the servants greeted me at the gate. I was still feeling quite weak from all the blood I gave up for the sword, so I seriously needed dragon meat. Mrs. Ellen had prepared a dragon meat dinner. I sat down and dug in, feeling my strength slowly return with every single bite. I told her to make portions for the knights, and both mages as well. We had tons of dragon meat packed on ice in the cellar. At my rate of eating, it would last forever. As I ate, I really started missing the food from my old world. In this place, it was basically just meat on a plate every single meal. Back in China, we had 8 massive cuisines with endless, delicious variety. Frying, steaming, stir-frying, boiling, and braising. I made a quick mental note to teach the missus some proper, traditional cooking techniques whenever I got the opportunity. For now, I decided to just feast on dragon meat, and once I got bored of that, I'd sell the rest in Mo City. Wealthy high society families would pay a fortune for it. Post-dinner, I had mostly recovered from all that blood loss. Heading out to the courtyard, I found Linda studying the soil. She was eager to plant the magical seed we had bought earlier this morning, since this ground was pretty fertile. But she warned me, if this plant grew to be dangerously powerful, it might destroy my castle. I told her to go ahead, so she dug a hole on the western side of our courtyard, buried the seed, watered it, and used her magic wand to spark its growth. Soon, a little sprout pushed through the dirt. Linda suggested adding some of my blood, knowing the energy inside would make it grow way faster. Shifting back into my dragon form, I sliced my palm, dripping blood onto the sprout. It hungrily absorbed every drop, shooting up to over a meter tall in 15 minutes. I had to reopen the cut several times, as my wounds kept healing up, only stopping when I started feeling faint again. But something seemed quite off. The tree looked exactly like the cypress, already growing in our courtyard. We stared at each other honestly. Did we just get scammed? Then, a single strange leaf sprouted at the very top, just palm-sized, with golden veins that glowed beautifully under the moonlight. Linda's eyes went wide. She finally recognized it. A sentinel tree, an extremely rare magical plant. Linda told me to pluck a leaf and press it over my eyes. When I did, my vision completely warped. I was suddenly looking through the tree's own perspective. Right there stood Linda and myself, plain as day. Just like staring through a camera lens. I could easily rotate the angle and zoom right in. Talk about a full 360-degree security feed. Crystal clear vision. This sentinel tree did not have any permanent shape. It just copied whatever trees were growing around it, blending right in. If I planted these all over my land, though, I would have perfect eyes on every single intruder, spotting thieves and dark spies instantly. Linda snapped off a small branch and shoved it deep down. She explained that cuttings from this mother tree right here would easily take root and sprout into brand new offspring, sharing the exact same spy vision. So as long as we kept the mother tree safe, we could grow an endless supply, protecting the whole region easily. But then things got wild. The bark suddenly turned bright blood red, growing tiny, sleek scales along its trunk, while the canopy started shining brighter and brighter. A massive fireball shot straight out of the leaves, crashing violently onto the forest floor, 15 meters away, leaving a giant crater behind. That blast carried the force of a first-rank fireball spell. Soon, the hot red glow faded, and the whole thing went back to looking totally ordinary. A simple cypress tree gently swaying its green leaves at me, as if saying, "Look at me, master." I stared over at Linda, utterly speechless. She was just as stunned. She knew these sentinel trees could hide themselves, but she had never heard of one launching attacks. She muttered that my own blood must have triggered this mutation. That immediately made me recall my grandmother's old words, that the Jordan family used to be incredibly powerful and highly respected centuries back. Was there actually a secret hidden inside our bloodline? Something everyone had completely forgotten. Linda quietly planted a few more branches, spreading the sentinel tree cuttings around the courtyard. Once they grew and developed their surveillance skills, we would transplant them across our territory. I tested that golden-veined leaf a few more times, then stored it safely away. This magic tree was easily our best find today. I handed Linda the dragon I stoned early as payment. She teased me, asking if I was worried she would run off. I told her if she tried, I would drag her back and make her work for me forever. We joked around for a while. Heading upstairs, Ruth told me the news. The dragon blood was finally ready for my bath. I went to the bathroom. A tub completely full of red liquid waited there, stripping down to just my shorts. But I kept the heart-shaped pendant around my neck. The warm blood felt like a hot spring. My half-dragon form activated on its own as I sank, and slowly, I drifted off to sleep. But here is where things got weird. That heart pendant began floating right above my head, glowing bright red. Blue threads spread out while a crimson mist poured out. The two colors spiraled together, creating a massive energy vortex that wrapped around me. I felt myself falling, sinking through pitch darkness into a bottomless void. Total emptiness surrounded me. Then a bright white circle of light appeared ahead. I ran toward it and dove right through. Suddenly, I was standing on a massive wall over 100 meters high, surrounded by warriors clad in black armor. Countless bodies lay below. In the distance, an army of hundreds of thousands charged right forward. Where am I? I thought, this has to be a dream. Yet it felt impossibly real. I watched myself draw a sword, ordering the troops to fight. Catapults fired, flaming boulders right into the charging enemy. But that army was completely unstoppable. A dark tide of humans and giant magical beasts, towering over 3-story buildings, mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, along with 3-meter minotaurs holding heavy battering rams. Suddenly, a dragon's roar echoes out. This massive 60-meter ice-blue dragon suddenly emerges, slender, elegant, and clearly female. She tightly grips a crystal staff, pointing it directly at the massive enemy army, unleashing a forbidden spell. The mystical ice spike formation, a blue hexagram, spanning thousands of meters wide, lights up the sky. Then countless, 7-meter ice spikes rain down like an absolute storm, impaling absolutely everything below, soldiers, beasts, everything, wiping out over 10,000 in minutes. Now watch this, I roar too. The entire world shrinks around me, shifting instantly into an enormous red dragon, measuring over 80 meters long, dwarfing the blue one. I yell out, "Sword, come!" And a massive swirling red vortex splits the sky, raining pure fire, condensing into a 40-meter flaming blade of destruction. I grab it, leaping off the wall to charge straight into the horde. Nothing survives a single swing. Spears and arrows bounce right off my thick scales. I just mow them down like wheat. Suddenly, a woman's voice screams out, "Jordan, save me." But you won't believe my eyes. 5 black dragons have appeared, and they are binding the blue dragon in heavy chains. In the dream, I desperately scream Lisa, flying straight back to rescue the helpless blue dragon. 3 black dragons cut me off, each clutching massive, pitch-black spears. I slash through them with lethal skill, stabbing one right through the chest. Then, casting a forbidden spell called the Blazing Sun Crescent, a miniature sun begins forming in the sky, merging pure fire and intense sunlight, channeling all that energy into a 500-meter wave, golden crescent blade, cleaving those 2 fleeing black dragons right in half. But I could not reach Lisa. 1 black dragon perched on the wall, unleashed a forbidden scroll that released a dark, suffocating, golden light that ripped straight through my defenses. Thick black mist seeped from my scales, linking directly to a massive, glowing dragon head, magic circle on the ground, locking me down completely. I could not even flinch. Those remaining black dragons chained up Lisa and flew away. Her desperate voice grew fainter. "Jordan, save me." I screamed her name in despair, totally helpless. Then, the entire enemy army retreated. Lightning fast, this entire siege was just a diversion. Their actual target was the blue dragon, and we were all completely fooled here. The painful vision shattered, and I woke up gasping. Drenched in sweat, it was already morning. Every single drop of dragon blood in the tub vanished, fully absorbed, meaning this was no simple dream. These were memories of a red dragon named Jordan, sharing the exact same family name. His absolute worst memory, watching the one he truly loved get dragged away. Even my dragon human form grew red scales, matching that exact red dragon. Could this really be a coincidence? And what exactly made that blue dragon so special, that they sacrificed 3 black dragons and a rare scroll just to take her? Too many questions, 0 answers. But let us put that aside and check my body, activating my dragon form. I had grown over 2 meters tall, packing serious muscle and an 8-pack. My wings had grown as large as a swan's. Flapping them hard, I actually lifted right off the ground, hovering 1 meter up before hitting my limit. Before this, the wings could only boost my running speed, but now I could actually hover. Someday, I would fly freely through the skies. I got dressed and headed out for breakfast. Linda excitedly told me the mother sentinel tree was already 2 meters tall, while the first child tree passed the 1 meter mark. I tested a golden leaf over my eyes. The view was way higher now, and incredibly sharp. I could literally see the pores on a passing maid's face. Then my vision shifted straight to the child tree's perspective. Its other branches were already 60 or 70 centimeters tall, meaning they would be ready for surveillance in a few days. Tina walked in, asking what we were doing. I explained all about this unique cinnamon tree weed, grown directly from the magic seed. Tina snatched the golden leaf to try it out, but she saw absolutely nothing. Yet when I took it back, it worked just fine. Linda tried to, absolutely nothing. She sighed deeply and admitted, she never should have let me water the tree with my blood, meaning now only I could use the cinnamon tree. Normally, anyone holding a golden leaf is supposed to get access, and fully grown trees would even sprout multiple leaves. But get this, my blood changed the rules. It was a total double-edged sword because the tree would grow way stronger, but only I could use it. I quickly made a mental note to be way more careful about feeding things my blood down the road. Then I told Linda to start planting the fruit trees right after breakfast. I promised her that once they finally bore fruit, I would make sweet jam, juice, and wine for everyone. Her eyes immediately lit up. Even Tina looked pretty excited. After breakfast, I sent Tina to Mott City with Knight, Shiloh, and 3 male servants to manage our snow cake business for the day. I handed them a bag of silver coins for supplies, along with strict orders to follow the recipe exactly. With Tina, our strongest fighter, away, I kept Jonathan and the remaining knights at the castle for extra security, then pulled out a map of Hopetown and started planning where to plant the new orchards. I ended up picking 2 spots near water sources, with open space all around them, to build future processing workshops. Jonathan marched through the territory with a copper gong, calling out for every able-bodied worker to head to the castle. Bring your buckets and shovels for planting. Naturally, some folks grumbled at first, terrified of leaving their precious crops unattended, especially with harvest only 2 months away. But then, someone reminded them of last time. When the Lord had them digging pond mud, they each got paid 20 copper coins. That flipped their attitude real fast. And honestly, seeing this made me realize how much things changed. Back when I first arrived, the knights dragged people to work by force. Now, over 140 workers showed up voluntarily. Within 20 minutes, Hopetown was fully assembled, their sheer drive through the roof. All thanks to fair pay, free hot meals, and actual basic human respect. I hopped onto Juggernaut, my dragon-blooded stallion, and shouted for everyone to follow me. Well over 100 citizens marched behind, making for one impressive parade. A few wondered why we brought no saplings. But nobody asked. Soon, we reached my chosen spot. 100 acres of wasteland choked with waist-high weeds, backed by a massive 300-acre lake. But this prime farmland had been completely abandoned, thanks to a second-rank magical beast in that water. A brutal, iron-armored giant crocodile. Years back, it slaughtered several innocent serfs, and though the Jordans sent powerful knights to hunt it, the clever beast outsmarted them every time. It never even came ashore, and standard arrows could not pierce its armored hide. Eventually, the knights just gave up, leaving this entire area completely useless for years, since nobody dared draw water from that lake. Today. But watch this, I was about to solve it for good. Stepping right up to the lake's edge, I tossed a small chunk of pork into the lake, enchanted with wind magic so it stayed floating. Suddenly, a massive, log-like shape drifted closer. A sudden whirlpool opens, swallowing the meat. But that massive beast is still lurking, so I tossed the remaining 10-pound chunk out, unleashing a quick wind spell, just to keep it floating over the water. The monster just can't resist. It suddenly erupts from the depths in a massive splash, nearly 4 meters of pure muscle, thick as a barrel, draped in dark, gray armor, serrated plates, with massive teeth. Everyone scrambles back in absolute panic. Several workers actually collapse, trembling with fear. I ask Linda if she got a clear look. She nods, so I tell her, make a giant hook. Sprouting a seed, she grows a half-meter branch. The dark wood curves perfectly into a sharp hook, complete with a nasty barb and a hollow loop at the bottom, all in under 3 minutes. Next, she spawns a massive 200-meter vine, thick as an arm. When she's finally done, sweat is literally pouring down her face. I thread the thick vine through the hook, tying a secure knot. I jam 10 pounds of pork onto it. We anchored the other end of the line to Juggernaut's back. Then, I order all 140 workers, grab the rope with everything. I hurled the heavily baited hook out into the lake. Within mere seconds, the vine snaps tight. The giant beast swallowed the bait. I yell out, 1, 2, 3, pull. Everyone pulls together like an epic tug of war. The furious crocodile thrashes wildly, but our 100-strong crew is way stronger. Stamina starts dropping. I offer 30 copper coins to everyone as a bonus. They surge, but when they slow down again, I instantly raise the reward to 50. Talk about an ultimate motivation cheat. They heave back with absolutely everything now. We literally drag the beast a full kilometer away, carving a massive, deep trench into the dirt. Once I'm certain it can't slip back into the lake, I raise my hand and yell, attack. Jonathan and his 3 knights charge right in, and lunge at the beast, but their blades just bounced off its armored hide. Only Jonathan, a 3rd-ranked knight, stood tall, barely scratching it. Then the monster swung its tail, thick as a heavy log, and even with all 4 knights blocking it together, they got shoved back over a dozen steps. The smart beast stopped struggling, and suddenly charged straight at the crowd of workers. Total panic broke out, releasing the vine. As they scattered everywhere, the croc grinned, turning back toward the lake. Juggernaut couldn't hold it. Honestly, this monster is smart. Instantly activating my dragon human form, I grabbed my sword and rocketed forward. Blasting forward like a blur, I formed a half-meter fireball, and slammed it right into its head. The explosion was massive, scorching the ground into pure glass. The beast instantly froze in place. As the smoke cleared, its head was charred and smoking. It spun around furiously, shooting 5 water arrows at me. Dodging 2, I sliced one right in half with my blade, and blasted the remaining 2 with fireballs, completely neutralized. Then it lunged forward with its giant jaws wide open. Exactly what I wanted. As long as it chased me, it won't escape back into water. Schwagen galloped below. Landing perfectly on his back, I swung my sword, sending a sharp wave of aura directly into the monster's open maw, completely shredding its tongue. It screeched, rolling around in pure agony. Then I saw it. Its underbelly wasn't armored like the rest of its body. That soft, pale skin was totally exposed. There's its weak point. I ordered Jonathan and the knights to cut off the lake route. While I focused on kiting the beast, I kept my distance riding Juggernaut, since he was way faster than that clumsy reptile. On dry land, the crocodile's only ranged move was water arrows, and those were currently on cooldown, so I conjured a tornado that swept it up, 4 or 5 meters into the air, completely exposing its soft underside. Then I fired 7 wind blades, straight into its belly, drawing a flood of blood. It stained the earth a deep, dark red. My people erupted in roaring cheers. Many of them had lost family members to this exact monster, and had long abandoned hope of revenge. Today, for the first time, look, they saw that justice was finally possible. The crocodile stopped trying to fight, desperately scrambling to escape back to the lake, dragging a heavy trail of blood behind it. Jonathan and his knights formed a solid wall, raising a glowing silver aura barrier. It stood 2 meters high and 10 wide. The crocodile slammed headfirst into the wall, stumbling backward, completely dazed. It desperately tried to slip around, but Jonathan shifted quickly to block it. The beast fired 5 water arrows, but they barely rippled the shield. A rank 3 knight with 3 rank 1s could easily tank a wounded rank 2 beast. I gathered my silver dragon aura, coiling around me for 18 dragon subduing palms. My energy dragon dove under, flipping the giant beast right over, exposing its soft belly again. Shogun and I blasted forward at full speed, 150 kilometers an hour. I drove my sword straight up through its jaw, straight through its skull. The tip of my blade popped out of its head. Shogun carried me another 200 meters, before we finally ground to a halt. And there it is, the giant crocodile lies dead. 30 reputation points for the kill, plus 80 more from the stunned crowd. But the real highlight came next. I rode back to the carcass with sunlight warm on my face, declaring out loud to everyone that the beast was dead. This territory is ours again, and lunch is on me, fresh crocodile meat for everyone. The crowd went absolutely wild. Shower me with reputation. 140 points total, my actual goal. Publicly executing that monster. That was how you prove your absolute strength as their lord. Grateful, you bet they were. Next, I retrieved the fruit tree saplings out of my spatial ring as workers dug holes. They planted them and carried water straight from the lake, with Linda following with her wand, magically accelerating each sapling's growth. Leaves sprouted instantly, trunks shot right up as if years had passed. Within seconds, I organized the entire plot by type: apple orchard, pear orchard, an orange grove, and of course, a vineyard. The grapes turned out to be the most work. I had to chop down over 40 trees from the forest to build trellises bound together with vines. Linda grew them. Talk about teamwork. All 40 acres of saplings were finally planted in place. Linda looked pretty pale from using so much magic. I pulled her right up onto Schwagen and ordered the hungry crowd to grab their bowls and head to the castle for meat. Back at the castle, the rich aroma of cooking crocodile filled the air. Jonathan stepped forward, presenting the beast's magic core, a peach-sized, glowing water blue sphere. The crocodile's skin had also been fully peeled off. I nodded in approval. Not a bad haul for one morning. Inside the courtyard, the massive hide was drying on the stone table. I folded it up and stored it inside my spatial ring. Then, I handed Robert a heavy bag of coins, ordering him to pay each worker 50 copper. When lunch rolled around, the workers lined up, waiting patiently for their bowls of hot crocodile soup. Robert sat right by the line, handing out silver coins to pairs of family members. Every single paid person gave me 2 reputation points, totaling 280 points. Afterward, Linda and I went upstairs to eat. Sitting by the window, I watched my people. They sat in small groups, sipping soup, clutching their silver coins with happy smiles. Taking a sip myself, I grimaced. It tasted fishy and barely salted. In rushed Kalina to add salt. She left with Ruth, and right then, I heard a groan beside me. Linda collapsed backward. I quickly caught her and held her. Waves of life were literally radiating from her body, bursting out everywhere. Outside, the sentinel trees shot up dramatically, while flowers and grass exploded from the sandy soil, carpeting the entire desert in green. But Linda was in terrible shape. Her eyes clamped shut, her face twisting in pain, and her body began swelling like a balloon. Seriously, I had no clue what was happening, wishing Tina were here because there was absolutely nothing I could do. She screamed out in agony. then suddenly bit down hard on my hand. My blood dripped straight into her mouth, and her eyes snapped open with a weird glow. Before I could even ask her anything, she threw her arms around my neck and pressed her lips tightly against mine. Incredibly pure energy poured straight into me, unbelievably raw and powerful. My dragon human form instantly activated on its own. Linda's swollen body slowly returned to normal. As that massive energy flowed directly into me, we stayed locked. Neither of us stopped. Honestly, I don't know how long it lasted. Then the energy stopped. We broke apart, gasping for air. Linda's face was flushed deep red. My dragon form grew to over 2 meters, 20 tall now, with much thicker scales, ripped muscles, and wings nearly 2 meters wide, large enough to actually fly on. I asked her what happened. She explained that during her childhood, she swallowed a weird fruit, known as dragon tongue fruit, packed with insane energy. Her master sealed the power inside, just barely keeping her alive back then, but planting those sentinel trees took too much mana. Cracking the seal open under the heavy strain, that wild power started leaking out everywhere. But kissing me transferred all that energy. The danger was completely gone. She could no longer feel that overwhelming power. And honestly, it was a total win-win for us both. She was finally free of that ticking bomb, while my dragon form just got a huge upgrade. I pulled out my pocket watch. It was already 3 in the afternoon. We had been making out for 3 hours. She mumbled that she was exhausted, and dashed straight back to her bedroom. Watching her run off, I licked my lips. Across 2 lifetimes, I had never kissed anyone before. That was my official first kiss. I headed downstairs. Down there, the sentinel trees looked absolutely massive. The mother tree reached over 2 meters high, while the 6 offspring trees passed a meter already. Checking the golden leaf, I confirmed the news. Each tree now worked like a security camera. Now I had to plant them around the borders of my entire land. Soon, I had to check on my Dragon Fang sword, so I hopped onto Schwagen and told Jonathan I was heading to Mo City alone. He protested that it was dangerous, but I patted Schwagen's neck and laughed, saying danger cannot catch us. Let's see them try to keep up. We reached the city in under 30 minutes, cruising at 160 kilometers per hour. I ran into Shiloh and Tina's crew heading back. They sold 200 snow cakes, making decent money, but only 30 reputation points. The hype was definitely wearing off fast. I seriously needed to invent something new. I handed out their bonuses and sent everyone home. Back at the Viscount Manor, Brent was already waiting right outside the forge. He was dying to see the Dragon Fang sword too. We knocked on the heavy iron door, and Green led us inside quietly. Inside, Daniel was at his anvil, his aura blazing, raining down incredibly precise, powerful strikes. Sitting on the forging platform was a pale, white blade that looked like it was carved straight from pure jade, an absolute work of art, measuring about 1 meter, 20 in length and 3 fingers wide. Its guard curved outward, looking exactly like two sharp fangs. One final strike, and brilliant light exploded from the blade, instantly flooding the entire forge. And check this out, a rainbow beam shoots upward, through the ceiling, blasting a half-meter hole right through. We could see blue sky. Suddenly, a giant phantom dragon over 10 meters long soared straight into the air. It opened its jaws and roared with absolute, terrifying force, shaking the entire city like a minor earthquake. Then the phantom dissolved into a flash of pure light, and surged right back into the metal. Suddenly, the sword floated up and flew right to me, handle first, hovering right before my eyes. I reached out and grabbed the cool, perfectly comfortable hilt. In my mind, I could feel the spirit of the weapon. It felt playful and mischievous, and whenever I swung it, a deafening dragon roar would echo out. Daniel was weeping with pure joy, calling it the greatest masterpiece he had ever forged. Honestly, that roar has a serious soul-shaking effect. It can actually stun opponents during battle, and even if a powerful enemy manages to resist, having that deafening roar right in their face would crush them. Green then handed me a light gray scabbard, beautifully detailed with a flying silver dragon. I absolutely loved it, and Daniel asked me to name the weapon. Thinking of the thunderous roar that came with every single swing, I decided on Dragon's Howl. The blade trembled slightly in clear approval. Next, I pulled out a tough section of dragon skin, along with over 100 glittering dragon scales from my ring, asking Daniel to forge me an armor suit. Brent stood there looking completely numb. He had honestly run out of ways to be shocked. Daniel's eyes instantly lit up as he ran his trembling hands over the scales. promising it would be his absolute pleasure. Green immediately started taking my measurements for the height, shoulders and waist. Daniel laid out the dragon, skin and scales across his hot forging platform, forming a rough human shape. But check this out. A freezing aura suddenly arose from the dragon skin, and another dragon phantom suddenly materialized, glaring at me with pure hatred and roaring loudly. A second dragon soul. This one had been secretly hiding inside the skin. Dragon howl unsheathed itself automatically, its sword spirit floating out to confront this new phantom. They looked almost completely identical, but my sword spirit was far more solid. One had already fully accepted me as master. The other still hated me deeply. Brent stared at me with pure envy, asking why all the good luck always went my way. I casually told him it is called main character energy. Activating my dragon human form, I gave blood again. Everyone stared, realizing I had grown dramatically since yesterday, standing at an impressive 2 meters 20. Brent complained that after one day apart, talk about an insane glow up, they knew absolutely nothing about my dragon bloodbath, or the immense energy I had absorbed from Linda. Green brought over a tiny cup, but I shook my head, way too small, so he came back with a bucket. I sliced my wrist with dragon howl, bleeding out over 10 liters before finally feeling faint. Luckily, my enhanced body could handle far more blood loss now. Green poured the blood evenly over the dragon skin. The liquid absorbed almost instantly, and the phantom's expression immediately shifted, flickering between anger and warmth just like the first soul did, until the hatred faded, replaced by a quiet acceptance. It sank back into his skin. The sword spirit retreated into Dragon's howl. Then he pulled out the crocodile hide, asking Green to craft him some custom shoes. Brent couldn't believe he'd killed the armored crocodile back then. He realized he was using second-rank beast leather, just for footwear, calling him totally extravagant, until he remembered he had dragon skin for real armor. He asked for the leftover crocodile hide, for his own armor, but he demanded 12 gold coins. Brent protested that they were practically brothers, but even brothers must settle accounts clearly. After some heavy haggling, he threatened to sell it to Howard's family for 15. His friend caved and paid 12. He also offered him the crocodile's water magic core, due to his fire dragon form. At 15 gold coins, Brent called him a robber, but when he mentioned selling it to rivals instead, he agreed instantly to pay tomorrow. Right when he came for the dragon scale armor, Green measured his feet, assuring him there was plenty of crocodile skin left, enough for the full armor sets plus extra shoes. Brent would get his fancy armor, while our guy would walk away with 5 full pairs, and maybe even 2 extra pairs, from the leftover material. Brent insisted Green make him to full armor sets, and use whatever was left for his own shoes. He didn't argue 5 was plenty. Walking out, he held the legendary dragon's howl. But get this, the sword spirit completely refused the spatial ring, and insisted he carry it outside the forge. A crowd had gathered: his father, Uncle Fred, Plato, and every single guard. That earlier dragon roar had panicked the entire estate. His father asked what happened. He told him straight he had a dragonfang sword forged, and the drama-loving sword spirit made a scene. Plato just sneered, suggesting a real dragon was coming for revenge. I unsheathed Dragon's howl and gave it a few quick test swings. Each movement unleashed a thundering dragon roar. It nearly deafened everyone nearby. Father's eyes burned with pure greed. He instantly tried to sweet-talk me into giving it up, saying a kid like me couldn't handle its power. But I told him this blade was quenched with my own blood. The weapon spirit would only ever obey me. His face fell instantly. Next, I casually mentioned slaying that iron-armored crocodile, and selling its tough hide to Brent for some armor. Father and Uncle Fred were completely stunned. Uncle Fred, a powerful 4th-rank knight, had led an entire squad against that beast years ago, and failed miserably, so when I added that Brent was already crafting the new armor, Father disappeared in a total blur, smashing right through the forge door to get his share. Outside the manor gates, a massive crowd had gathered. The city's top nobles and wealthiest merchants were there. Leaders of the 2 other Viscount families stood waiting, all of them demanding answers about that dragon roar. I immediately played dumb, acting like a terrified little kid who just ran outside when the scary noise happened. Can you believe they fell for it, shoving past to Father? But as I squeezed through the mob, a mysterious blonde young man grabbed my shoulder. He smiled, remarking that my sword looked highly unusual. I shrugged him off, calling it ordinary before leaving quickly. Behind my back, I heard his blonde female companion ask what he saw. He quietly whispered that it was a dragon fang blade. Once outside the city, I released Juggernaut and rode hard toward my home. Watch out, an arrow comes whistling right at me. I whipped out Dragon's Howl and sliced it clean in half. My horse, Schwagen, stumbled over a tripwire hidden on the ground, but he didn't fall. Instead, the two men holding that rope got violently yanked right out of their hiding spots. You cannot stop a beast with dragon blood. 8 threatening figures emerged from the bushes. Their leader was a short, fat man, barely 1.40 meters tall, and beside him stood a giant with a hideous scar running across his face. Scarface spoke in this weird, high-pitched voice, pointing directly at my fancy noble clothes and my incredibly rare, scaled horse. He figured I would fetch a massive ransom. Their fat leader just grinned, making a sick suggestion about keeping me. For their personal amusement, they quickly circled around Juggernaut and me. 2 second-ranked knights in total, along with 6 first-ranked knights. I just smirked coldly and asked them outright if they seriously thought this was enough to rob me. Scarface laughed, calling me a clueless kid who had no idea what lay ahead. One of the first-ranked knights swaggered right up, spitting a vile threat, but I didn't waste words. I charged on Jiaojin as Dragon's Howl roared, and the man's head instantly flew off. 1 swing, 1 instant kill. That got their attention, all right. The fat leader screamed for everyone to swarm me. 7 men drew their weapons and charged at me from all sides. I shot a massive lightning bolt through Dragon's Howl, slamming straight into Scarface. My Dragon Fang sword channeled magic, way better than any normal wand. The lightning was literally as thick as an arm. Scarface immediately started seizing. The fat leader barely saved his partner by knocking away my follow-up strike, then kicked hard at Schwagen's belly. But Schwagen reared up and stomped back, sending the fat leader stumbling backward. Then Schwagen blasted a fireball from his forehead, right into the fat leader's face. As he screamed, blinded by the painful burns, I swung Dragon's Howl straight at his head. Only his pure survival instincts saved him. He ducked down just in time, my blade whistling right over his scalp. The terrified fat leader screeched for everyone to activate their ultimate skills. All 7 unleashed their name techniques, and honestly, my blood was absolutely pumping. My dragon form. I tossed my shirt into the spatial ring, as my body swells to over 2 meters, covered in crimson scales. Dragon wings burst from my back. Dragon Howl ignites with a meter-long blade, matching my terrifying new size. With one heavy beat, I soar upward, channeling raw fire straight into the tip. Exploding fireball. A 1 meter wide fireball forms instantly, packing way more heat than my usual spells. Upgrading my dragon form twice really paid off, plus the magic flow of the dragon house. Watch this, I launch it at Scarface's flashy sword dance. The impact shatters the flame into dozens of embers, raining down everywhere, blasting 6 of the 7 fighters back at once. Their battlefield coordination is ruined. Scarface scrambles away with his hair singed off, ugly burn marks covering his face and body. Only their fat leader pushes through. I dive bomb him, swinging Dragon Howl upward. A massive clang echoes as our weapons collide, sending violent shockwaves rippling through the air and crushing the grass flat. He stumbles back over 12 steps, completely stunned. He is one of the strongest second-ranked knights, but I am absolutely dominating him. He is seriously regretting this fight now. But guess what? Too late to negotiate. With Juggernaut's insane speed, they cannot even run. I blast lightning at him, forcing a desperate roll sideways. But before he can even stand up, my glowing blade is already thrusting forward. I target his vital points with every swing. He blocks desperately, sweating bullets just to survive. Scarface screams for the other men to help him. Just then, a massive red blur streaks past. A blood-curdling scream echoes out. Scarface turns, only to see Juggernaut has gored his ally, launching the poor guy 100 meters away. A massive hole ripped right through him. Absolutely furious, Scarface charged straight at Juggernaut. But that horse just bolted. At 200 kilometers per hour, nobody could match that speed. Scarface chased him for a mile before finally giving up. Breathing heavy, he suddenly realized he left his boss completely alone with me, and rushed back instantly. That fat leader was barely surviving. The constant roar from Dragon's Howl nearly deafened him, totally crippling his ability to sense any danger. Bloody wounds covered him, completely soaking through his clothes. I immediately fired off 3 spells in a row. Lightning, gale force wind, a vortex, and a massive fireball. Scarface got back just in time, threw up a 3 meter or a barrier to block it, My lightning cracked it, and the wind widened those fractures. Then, my fireball shattered the whole thing, sending both men crashing. Listen, distant screams ring out. Juggernaut was basically playing with one of the knights, throwing him high into the sky using his horns, catching him, then launching him again. Before finally crushing his skull outright, he kept spitting fireballs at the other 3 knights, just to keep them back. The remaining survivors broke ranks, fleeing in all directions. You can see the panic in their eyes. And they bolted too. I took flight on my wings, gathering a brilliant silver aura. 18 dragon subduing palms technique. A massive energy dragon slammed directly down on them, blasting a crater 100 meters wide and 3 feet deep. I plunged downward, driving dragon's howl right through Scarface's chest. He died instantly, and the fat leader went completely berserk, throwing away all defense to swing his heavy blade at me. Opting for a suicidal trade, I shot a high-voltage lightning arc right at his wrist. His sword dropped, and dragon's howl pierced his heart, the tip erupting right from his back. His limp body slid down the steel and split wide open. Juggernaut hunted down and trampled another fleeing knight, while I took off after the final to myself. That guy thought he escaped, but my blade took his head before he even heard me coming. The next one heard hooves behind him and tried to sprint, only to find Juggernaut standing right in front of him. A massive hoof to the skull ended it. I flicked the fresh blood off Dragon's howl. The steel was spotless. Honestly, Juggernaut could have easily outrun them all. But this path led straight to my home, and I would never tolerate bandits on the road to Hopetown. I sheathed my sword and climbed back onto Juggernaut, dressed myself again, and finally started heading home. After I left, a blonde man and woman from the city arrived. They came on horseback, and she rode a truly impressive beast. A blue-scaled horse. It had a rainbow tail and 1 sharp horn, just like a rhinoceros. The young nobleman carefully inspected the scene and the bodies. He noted that the wounds were remarkably clean and precise, clearly made by an extremely sharp weapon, complete with burn and paralysis marks, which proved their attacker was a skilled magic warrior. Only 1 set of human footprints remained, along with deep hoofprints from an absolutely incredible mount. His sister asked if that horse was better than her rare mount, that blue-scaled unicorn horse. He just laughed and told her it was many, many times better than her prize. Watch as these 2 blonde siblings investigate the battlefield. The young man Due quickly figured out everything, piecing it together from those clean sword wounds, and the distinct burn and paralysis marks of a magic warrior. Only 1 set of human footprints remained, alongside massive hoofprints from a truly exceptional mount. He deduced that 4 of the 8 bandits had been wiped out by the horse alone, making it comparable to a peak first-rank knight in pure combat power, with speed around 200 kilometers per hour, double her prized blue-scale horse's speed. The sister, Manda, couldn't believe it, so Due suggested it was me, Chris Jordan, armed with a dragon fang sword. Still, Manda refused to believe it. She still saw me as a snotty kid, who always chased after her, yelling out Manda, begging her to wait. She couldn't connect that kid with someone capable of slaughtering 2 second-ranked knights and 6 first-ranked knights all alone. They made a bet to stake out the road to Mo City, and if I rode in on some legendary, extraordinary mount, then I would win, and get to borrow her blue-scale horse for a month. Otherwise, Manda won, and claimed his treasured mystic iron ore used for forging a sword. She confidently agreed. Sure, I couldn't grow this strong in 6 months. By the time I reached home, darkness had fully settled. That clash with the roadside bandits had cost me too much time. Jonathan immediately smelled blood on me and asked what happened. I just told him it was nothing. Just some petty roadside bandits I cleaned up. He eagerly offered to ride with me next time, but I turned him down since he'd only slow me down. Tina met me inside and immediately asked what had gone down between Linda and me. Apparently, Linda had locked herself inside her room, refusing to step outside ever since I arrived. I licked my lips and told them to just give her a few days. Then Tina shared some pretty good news. Linda had advanced to a 3rd-rank mage. Think about it, a 3rd-rank plant mage would dramatically speed up all growth across my orchards and farmlands. It made total sense though. When that potent dragon tongue fruit energy leaked out, she must have absorbed quite a bit of it. Absolutely starving, I headed straight to the dining room. Mrs. Ellen served up the usual dinner. Another dragon meat steak. I stared at it and grimaced. Imagine eating nothing but plain, unseasoned meat day after day. I was completely sick of it. I stood up, marched into the kitchen, and finally decided It was high time to teach Mrs. Ellen how to cook real, delicious food from my previous life. Classic Chinese cuisine had 8 major styles. Any single style could easily fill an entire feast. Eating bland steaks every single day was barbaric. The kitchen staff completely panicked seeing a noble inside. Robert rushed over to complain immediately, but I shut him down before he spoke. I told Mrs. Ellen to watch closely and learn. Once she mastered it, I would stop coming. Next, I grabbed the scattered jars on the counter, sniffing each container to identify the seasonings. The spice rack was pretty sad compared to mine. Just some oil, salt, pepper, and cumin. But hey, it was a start. I rolled up my sleeves and got cooking, chopping the pork into small, even pieces, and throwing them into the hot pan. Once the meat started browning slightly, I threw in some chopped cabbage. Mrs. Ellen was horrified. Nobles only eat meat, so cabbage is peasant food. I just ignored her and kept stir-frying anyway. The staff watched us in stunned silence. They had never seen a noble cook before now, especially with these cooking methods that were totally foreign to them. As it sizzled, and man, that delicious scent drifted right out. Ruth and Kalino were basically drooling now. I whipped up some pork cabbage stew, beef stew with potatoes and pepper, plus stir-fried pork and tomato scrambled eggs. I really wished I could cook more, but my stomach was growling way too loud. I quickly whittled to sticks into chopsticks. Using Dragon's Howl, washed them, and sat down. The flavors turned out solid. My kitchen skills had not faded at all. I made Mrs. Ellen taste the food. She hesitated because she thought it was wrong for a servant to eat her lord's cooking. I just shoved the spoon into her hand, telling her she had to master these recipes so she could cook them for me later. Just one single bite made her eyes widen. Each dish scored me 2 reputation points from her. I called the other maids over to try. They were completely mind-blown, and each one granted me 2 more reputation points. Tina quietly sneaks in to take a taste too. That is 2 more reputation points. What about Linda? Tina tells me she is still hiding inside. I tell Tina to take that delicious pork and cabbage straight to her door to bait her out. Sure enough, the moment Linda smells that food, and hears I cook this meal completely by myself, she slowly cracks her door open. One taste, and our little foodie is completely hooked. Tina easily lures her over to the dining room, promising there is plenty of food left. Linda sits as far away from me as possible, keeping her head down, completely silent. I tell her to eat, and she cautiously tries the beef, looking up at me with sparkling eyes. Sweet, 2 more reputation points. I do not push my luck and just focus on eating. Honestly, I was starving. Tina notices my chopsticks and asks what they are, since she and Linda were struggling with spoons, spilling food everywhere, while I easily pick up every tiny shred of meat, without dropping even a single piece. I explained that these chopsticks are something I learned from a foreign merchant last year, almost slipping up and saying past life. I hand them both a pair I had already prepared. They fumble around at first, but as mages with incredible mental focus, they master the technique in under 5 minutes. Linda grabs a piece of potato and says, with her mouth stuffed completely full, chopsticks are definitely better than standard knives and forks. That was easily my most satisfying meal since getting reincarnated into this world. The 3 of us licked all 4 plates clean. Exhausted, I head straight to bed after leaving them. Tina quickly corners Linda and forcefully squeezes the entire story out of her. The dragon tongue fruit, the sudden energy leak, and wait, biting my hand, blood drinking, and a 3-hour kiss. Linda is completely mortified. Tina keeps teasing her about being so aggressive, and starts joking that, since my blood made that sentinel tree loyal only to me, maybe drinking it had made Linda fall for me too. Linda insisted that was totally ridiculous. She was not a plant, but she still could not explain why she kissed me. The very next morning, I sent Tina and Shiloh to Mo City with the servants to sell our snow cakes like we always do. Then I got all the workers together again. Our job today was putting up processing sheds right near the orchard. 10 whole buildings with huge stoves for cooking fruit jam, ready for when the harvest came in. I ordered them to fell trees and begin construction, while our administrator Randall kept track of everything. Meanwhile, Linda was busy waving her wand around, casting powerful growth magic on all the fruit trees. Incredibly, those little saplings we planted just yesterday had already grown way bigger. Thick leaves sprouted, and some were even blooming flowers. I quickly used wind magic to spread the pollen for artificial pollination. At this rate, we would have fresh fruit in 5 days. That is something that normally takes a year or two. Suddenly, a worker screamed out from the nearby lakeshore. He had found a massive egg. It was melon-sized and oval. Before I could even react, massive jaws burst from the water and dragged him down. It was another of those iron-armored crocodiles. I sprinted to the lake with Dragon's Howl drawn. The water was already bubbling with blood. I locked onto the target and hurled my sword straight in. Moments later, the poor guy surfaced. I transformed into my dragon form and flew out, grabbing him quickly and tossing him onto the shore. Boom! Saving him just earned me 60 reputation points. He passed out immediately, covered in nasty bite marks. He was in deep shock and had lost too much blood. His worried friends rushed him away to get treated. Dragon's Howl flew right back into my hand from the water. This crocodile was actually much smaller, and way weaker than the beast yesterday. It was probably just a first-rank beast, and judging by the egg, this one was female. That massive beast I took down yesterday was definitely her mate, the Jordan family's worst nightmare. Turns out, they were actually a couple. I blasted pure lightning right into the lake, but while tons of dead fish floated to the surface, the mother crocodile was still nowhere to be seen. Shocking the entire lake was a bad idea. It would completely ruin the fish population, so I decided to jump in myself. Watch this. I dove straight into the water in dragon form. Two tiny whiskers instantly sprouted from my nose, giving me the power to breathe underwater. Yesterday's beast was a rank 2 threat, way too dangerous to hunt down all alone. But this female was only rank 1. Easy work. Opening my eyes, I scanned the deep waters. My vision was perfectly clear down here. Little fish zipped past me, in total panic as I kept diving deeper. The giant mother was likely hiding inside her deep underwater den. Everything down here was incredibly dark and murky. I gripped my sword, Dragon's Howl, tightly, slicing through thick weeds as I went deeper. This lake was nearly 100 meters deep. After searching for about 4 or 5 minutes, I finally spotted her at the very bottom. She had built a nest from lake weeds and lily pads, measuring around 7 or 8 meters across. The mother crocodile lay curled up inside it, still bleeding from the wound my sword throw left earlier. Surrounding her were more than a dozen massive white eggs, swaying gently with the cold lake current. A literal nursery for future baby crocs. Pretty wild. She was way smaller than her giant mate, measuring only 2.5 meters and quite slender. The second she spotted me, she glared up with pure, terrifying rage. I lunged straight forward with Dragon's Howl, unleashing a massive whirlwind right from my blade, which instantly whipped up into an underwater vortex, spinning her giant body completely out of control. While she was dazed, I sliced her soft underbelly wide open. Her actual fighting power was absolutely nothing compared to yesterday's giant male, who I barely beat even with Jonathan's help. This female was easy enough to handle completely alone, but I had to move fast. My dragon transformation only lasted 10 minutes. Armed with my 2 new upgrades, I went all out. My dragon howl was sharp, easily slicing right through her thick armored hide. Within minutes, she couldn't even fight back anymore. Up on the shore, Jonathan and the crew were watching the lake anxiously, worried sick as dark red blood bubbled up. Linda covered her eyes, terrified of what happened. Then, right out of nowhere, the mother crocodile's massive body erupted upward, slamming hard onto the muddy bank. Bloody, heavily wounded, and barely breathing, I soared out right after her, landing without a scratch. The crowd went wild as my reputation jumped, gaining another dozen points or so. My grand total was now 1,710, just 290 points left, and breaking through to 2nd rank magic warrior status. I casually told them to start skinning the beast, but Linda stopped me, asking if I found any eggs. I told her I had brought them all up, joking about serving the whole family for dinner, but she actually had a much better idea. Why not put the mother and eggs back in the water and breed them instead? The lake was easily big enough for a crocodile farm. Whenever we needed a fresh catch, for meat or leather shoes, we would just grab one, but Jonathan quickly objected. Who would dare fetch water from a crocodile-infested lake? But I had the perfect plan. We would dig a narrow channel straight from the shore, 1 meter wide and 2 meters deep, running 30 meters long. Workers could safely draw all the water they needed. The massive mother crocodile was way too big to fit, and with her cautious nature, she would never venture 30 meters away from her lake. Then Jonathan pointed out a massive flaw in my scheme. The mother crocodile was basically already dead. I was actually planning to skin her, so I did not hold back at all. She was barely breathing now. I panicked and asked Linda for a healing plant. She pulled a tiny green seed from her pouch, planted it, growing a meter-tall plant instantly. It had 4 giant green pods full of liquid. We squeezed the cool green medicine out of them and smeared it all over her deepest wounds. Linda quickly grew 7 or 8 more plants, and we used every single drop on the beast. After 15 minutes of this intense treatment, thick green paste completely covered her body, and her condition was finally stabilized. I told Linda to bind her with tough vines, just in case she woke up feeling aggressive. I ordered the workers to dig 2 channels from the shore right into the lake, 1 meter wide, 2 meters deep, and 30 meters long. Once the mother crocodile fully recovered, I untied her and put her back in the lake, along with her eggs, watching her carefully carry every single egg down to the bottom. Our new crocodile farm was finally in business. Orchard construction continued throughout the day. I fed the workers lunch once again, and kept them working through the afternoon. But my reputation among the workers had dropped, down to only 80 points today. You know how people get, gratitude always fades. The exact same thing was happening with snow cakes in Mo City. Around 3 in the afternoon, I rode Juggernaut straight toward Mo City. On the way, I burned the bandit bodies, which were still rotting on the road. As I finally approached the city, I spotted 2 riders heading toward me, a blonde brother and sister riding on horseback, the famous White family twins, Dewey and Manda from the memories of old Chris. Manda had been his absolute dream girl since childhood. He used to follow her around everywhere, and right before his coming-of-age ceremony, he had even begged his father to propose marriage, but the White family father flatly refused, claiming Chris simply wasn't worthy of her. She was a 3rd-ranked knight, easily one of the strongest of her generation, while Chris was just a totally ordinary person, with absolutely no battle aura. Whenever he traveled hours to Mo City to see her, she'd slam the door right in his face. But I wasn't that puppy anymore. Dewey greeted me warmly, but I responded coldly. Amanda frowned, asking what I wanted. She was used to the old Chris fawning over her. Not this cold indifference. Dewey complimented Schwagen, clearly checking if he won his bet with Amanda. Then, without warning, Amanda drew her sword and charged straight at me. I pulled Dragon's Howl from my ring, blocking it with my scabbard. The heavy collision sent sparks flying. Recoil shocked her. She never expected this kind of strength from me. Shoving her back, I asked what she was doing. She just attacked again, and sheathing Dragon's Howl, its sudden roar shook the air. Their faces changed. They honestly never expected a weapon with special effects. I immediately struck first, channeling lightning through Dragon's Howl. She blocked with her sword. Huge mistake. The powerful current paralyzed her, even chalking the blue scale horse right underneath her. Schwagen charged right in, goring the horse's neck with his sharp horns, punching to deep, bleeding holes. Amanda was thrown off as her mount collapsed. I immediately followed up with 3 wind blades. Somehow, she sliced them apart. But Juggernaut spun and kicked her with his hind legs. She blocked using her sword's flat side, but the impact sent her sliding back 10 meters, deeply carving trenches in the ground. I shot a fireball, and she drove her sword into the ground, instantly raising a circular aura shield, called the Holy Light Barrier. The fireball splashed harmlessly against it, buying her a crucial moment to breathe. Then she poured everything into her sword, and unleashed a terrifying battle skill. A void flash cutting from afar. Dewey screamed, "Are you crazy?" Amanda's murderous intent locked onto me like a solid cage. Sharp sword energy ripped apart everything around us. This was the true power of a 3rd-ranked knight. The literal pressure of death itself. I instantly triggered my dragon human form. Watch this focus push to its absolute peak, and unleashed everything I had left. 18 dragons subduing palms. A massive silver dragon coiled around me. Exploding fireball. A giant fireball gathered at Dragon's Howl's tip, sucking in fire elements from 200 meters around. Amanda ripped her sword from the ground, her golden hair drifting upward, while dark energy wrapped around the blade like a void. She slashed, sending a terrifying black crescent straight at me. I unleashed the Aura Dragon, sending the fireball to crash head-on. The collision was completely catastrophic. Scorching fire rained from the sky. The ground shattered in all directions, and thick dust blinded everyone. My dragon and fireball both shattered, but her black crescent kept tearing forward. Though severely weakened, I flew up to shield Schwagen, pumping every single drop of energy and magic into a layered shield, and braced for impact as the shield cracked, splintering and breaking completely apart. Dragon's howl flicked upward, shattering the very last trace of her attack. But I was left completely drained. Dragon form collapsed and clothes disintegrated, leaving me wearing nothing but stretchy shorts. Unreal, even Due couldn't believe I survived. Amanda shrieked and immediately covered her eyes, her entire face turning bright red. She got a pretty clear look at my underwear. I quickly pulled spare clothes from my ring, telling them both to stop bothering me, and rode away on Juggernaut. Looking back at the clash, I could easily see the massive gap, and a third-ranked knight. Catching her off guard let me dominate early. But once she got serious, I stood no chance. Just blocking her final attack had completely drained my energy reserves, while she barely even broke a sweat. I had to reach second rank as fast as possible. Get this, later, Due asked Manda how much power she used. 8 out of 10. That was more than the 7 she usually used sparring with him. He was visibly shaken, while Manda was actually focusing on something else completely, specifically, the way I had looked at her. The old Chris used to worship her, but now, there was not a trace of affection in my eyes. I headed back to the Viscount Manor to check on my armor. Inside the forge, Brent was busy admiring himself in a mirror, while wearing his new crocodile skin armor. He bragged that even his sharpest sword could only scratch the surface without any battle aura. I responded with almost zero enthusiasm. Then, Green brought over my first pair of crocodile skin shoes. They felt incredibly smooth and comfortable, like a gentle foot massage as I bounced around testing them. The other 4 pairs were waiting on a rack nearby. Brent complained quite bitterly that our father had barged in yesterday and demanded crocodile skin armor as well. With father's massive build, it ended up using almost all the remaining leather. Believe it or not, Brent lost his second armor and did not even get a single pair of shoes out of it. Brent accused me of telling our father about the crocodile skin. I quickly dodged the question and suggested we head over to check on my dragon scale armor. Together, we walked to Daniel's private forge. Inside, he was busy putting on the final touches. The armor had finally taken shape. Dark gray, with an ancient, elegant aesthetic, with the final hammer strike. A blazing red glow washed over it, and a phantom dragon soul rose from the armor, with a deep rumble, and the entire suit turned fiery red. Dragon scales covering the surface and radiating heat. The moment I touched it, it called my name. It broke down into countless tiny fragments, glowing red pieces flying straight toward me, locking onto my body for a perfect fit. Brent shouted that it looked absolutely incredible, making his crocodile set look completely basic. The gear felt incredibly light, like I was wearing nothing at all, and the flexibility was on another level. Even when shifting into my half-dragon state, the armor expanded right with me, meaning no more shredding my clothes mid-fight anymore. Next, I tested the defenses by slashing it with Dragon's Howl. The blade left nothing but a thin white scratch, fading away within seconds, like it was never even there. I struck again, channeling my battle aura this time. Same result, the surface healed itself almost instantly. Daniel slapped his forehead in disbelief, shouting out that the gear had a special passive, self-repair. Everyone in the forge gasped in shock. A self-healing set. Seriously, a cheat like this is basically unheard of. While your opponent gets chipped down in battle, yours remains completely flawless. That is a massive cheat. Brent's eyes practically burned with jealousy. Daniel then asked me to name it. I decided to call it Unbreakable. The armor spirit responded with a gentle vibration, thankfully way calmer than Dragon's Howl. Talk about epic. Equipping Unbreakable while holding Dragon's Howl sent a strange energy surging between them and pouring straight into my body, slowly reinforcing my physical stats. I thanked the blacksmith and left. Daniel hinted to bring him any more dragon parts I could find for future crafting. Brent almost stumbled hearing that. Entering Mo City, a terrible stench hit me. 0 public toilets, which meant folks just used every single hidden alley. Even the capital struggled with this. Standing outside the inner city, I made a vow. If I ever build a town of my own, it will be completely spotless. Suddenly, those blonde twins showed up again. Due immediately praised my new armor. I just gave a cold goodbye and kept walking. Honestly, these two were sticking to me like absolute glue. 4 days after my departure, Manda asked Due what was so special about my gear, and he told her it was crafted from actual dragon skin and scales. Manda seriously had no idea what was coming. She had already lost their wager, and once her blue scale horse finally heals, Due gets to ride it for a whole month. As the days passed, supervising the orchard construction myself. I dropped over 50 silver coins, sending my knights to buy massive amounts of sugar, along with empty jars to store all our upcoming jam. With 140 workers, the processing sheds went up incredibly fast. Our fruit trees had fully matured now, thanks to Linda's magic. Red apples and ripe pears hung heavy on the branches, while purple grapes covered every trellis, and sweet-smelling oranges perfumed the air nearby. My reputation gains had slowed, only 50 points over for days. Once this jam is finally ready, everything flips. Watch as I run a test. I had workers pick 100 apples, peel and core them, and chop them into tiny bits. Then, I threw those chunks into a massive pot, with 5 pounds of sugar and some water. Before cooking them over an open fire, I skimmed the foam and washed the apples carefully, adding another 5 pounds of sweet sugar, once they turned almost see-through. Then, I cast a quick wine spell to stir the hot mixture into a smooth paste. This rich, sweet and sour scent quickly filled the shed. Linda stood next to me, practically drooling. I poured the hot jam into 10 jars to let them cool down. Linda couldn't resist. She blew on a spoonful and took a bite. Her eyes instantly lit up, calling it absolutely amazing. She devoured a whole jar by herself and still wanted more. Jonathan and the other knights tried some too. Their eyes went wide. Everyone awarded me 2 reputation points. The jam was a total hit. I immediately noted down the step-by-step recipe. It was pretty simple. Even ordinary folks could master it in half a day. Just basic sugar ratios and careful temperature control. I had Randall choose 12 sharp workers. Then, I repeatedly showed them the method, until they mastered the crucial stirring step. I swapped out magic for a simple wooden stick, so anyone could do it. This group would serve as our core team, training others to set up several production lines. This would become Hopetown's signature industry, helping my people finally earn a decent living, and generating steady reputation for me. Later that afternoon, Brent arrived at the castle looking for me. Mrs. Ellen pointed him toward the orchard as he walked through Hopetown. You won't believe how much things had changed. Kids were running around, laughing and playing, their cheeks looking rosy and healthy. They showed absolutely zero fear. A massive change from how things were months ago, back when children hid behind their parents, at the mere sight of any outsider. He stopped 2 old men heading back from the fields, and asked why everyone seemed so incredibly happy. They proudly told him it was all thanks to me. I was paying every worker 50 copper coins a day, just for a few days of work in the orchard. A family could buy a whole month's worth of food. Plus, I promised them steady work every single day. Hearing this, Brent was utterly baffled. Other nobles literally never paid their workers. Even the generous ones barely offered 10 copper coins. He just couldn't understand why I was throwing so much gold at normal citizens. Brent arrived at my orchard searching for me. He was pretty confused walking through Hopetown. Since his last visit 6 months ago, everything changed. Kids played completely fearless around strangers. Their cheeks looked rosy and healthy. Laborers happily carried water from the new irrigation channels, sporting genuine, happy smiles on their faces. Not a single slacker. Nobody needed an overseer with a whip. Unbelievably, the dead wasteland had turned into a thriving orchard packed with fresh fruit. He eventually found me in a shed, taste testing a new batch of grape jam, perfecting sugar ratios for my fruit jams. I offered him a quick spoonful of it. His eyes went wide, calling it absolutely incredible. Sweet, sour, and completely delicious. He asked how I grew the orchard so fast, on land that was empty months ago. I shrugged and said I had my methods, but kept Linda completely secret. If my father found out about my plant mage, who could accelerate crop growth, he would surely try to poach her. The greedy man already wanted Dragon's Howl. I casually handed over the crocodile magic core, and pocketed my 15 gold coins. Deal done. But Brent. Get this, Brent instantly saw the massive potential. He immediately proposed a partnership. The Jordan family controlled massive trade routes, spanning several cities, complete with knights for protection. And they had connections to bypass other nobles' tolls. He wanted a 70-30 split in his family's favor. I immediately countered with 50-50. He claimed 40-60 was his absolute final offer. I agreed instantly, but on 2 conditions. First, the most city market stays exclusively mine. Second, every single jar sold elsewhere must carry my own name on the label. He thought that second rule was pretty weird, but he agreed since it cost him absolutely nothing. This was exactly what I wanted. Having the Jordan family distribute my jam, meant reputation points were pouring in, from places I had never even visited. Then a worker brought in improved pear jam. I offered some to Brent, who swore he never ate pears, claiming he would rather starve or jump in the lake before touching pear jam. Just 10 seconds later, he was stuffing his face, mumbling how great it tasted. That is another reputation point from my dear brother. Brent ended up trying all 4 unique flavors: apple, pear, grape and orange, and just could not stop eating, even though his stomach was already stuffed. Believe me, he was totally sold on our partnership. Next, I took him on a tour of the orchard. He was shocked at how healthy every tree looked. Vibrant leaves and heavy fruit. Almost 0 bad apples or damage from birds. He could not figure out how I managed it. Keeping Linda's secret, we reached the irrigation channel. Brent froze, staring at the water below. A tiny crocodile, barely 20 centimeters long, sitting at the bottom. An iron-armored perfect miniature beast. Then another one swam over from the lake. I explained that there were originally 2 crocodiles. Right in the lake, a mated pair. The female had laid over a dozen eggs. They just hatched, and my plan was to raise them, let them breed, and eventually turn this lake into a crocodile farm, generating a steady supply of armored hides, plus magic cores. Brent was stunned by my ambition. Nobody dared to farm rank to magical beasts, but the economics were absolutely incredible. A single hide was worth 12 gold coins, while magic cores brought 15. Plus, the maintenance costs were practically 0, since these beasts could easily feed themselves. In our massive lake, the moment he tried to propose a deal, I shut him down immediately. They were strategic assets. I planned to use their hides for tough armor, my elite knight squad, and save their magic cores for training, all to prepare for war against the Edmund Society. With a year left, I was even feeding the babies my own blood to speed up their growth. Brent was pretty disappointed, but begged me to give him first priority if I ever chose to sell any. I told him we would see. I sliced my palm, dripping blood directly into the water. The baby crocodiles eagerly gobbled it all up, and they actually grew a bit right before our eyes. The massive mother crocodile surfaced in the lake nearby, watching us from a distance. Brent finally understood why those channels were dug, keeping the workers safe from the mother crocodile, while still accessing the deep water. After the tour, Brent left pretty impressed. He promised to discuss the jam sales plan with me. During my next visit to Mod City, Hope Town was rapidly transforming from a barren, hopeless territory into a place with serious potential, and even Brent could easily see it. Once he left, I focused on perfecting my jam recipes, running multiple rounds of intense testing, and letting the workers taste test. I finally settled on 2 versions of each flavor, a regular and a lightly sweetened fruit variety, 8 total flavors. My plan was to sell just 1 flavor per day, rotating through them like that. The people in Mod City would take much longer to get tired of any single flavor, and I would keep earning reputation much longer. But sales dropped because of a competitor, Baron Leverett. He was running a major promo on pineapple buns. Buy 1, get a free strawberry bun, plus 2 copper coins. Cashback. My servant George brought back this frustrating report. Honestly, I was not worried about the competition itself. What really bothered me was the timing. I was so close to reaching 2,000 reputation and breaking through to the 2nd rank of Magic Warrior. Anyone disrupting my business is finished, was going to regret it, so I sat down and cooked up a scheme this world had never seen. A lottery. I sliced paper into over 1,000 tickets, each one with matching numbered pairs. I splashed some magic-infused water on them to keep anyone from making fakes. Then I put up a big sign listing the prizes. 33rd place winners get a bowl of snow cake. 10 lucky 2nd place winners get some sweet apple jam. And the single grand prize winner gets half a pound of actual dragon meat. Someone shouted to ask if the meat was real. I smiled and assured them it was genuine. The crowd went wild. Dragon meat was something normal folks could never even dream of seeing. In the capital, it costs a whole gold coin per pound, so half a pound was worth 50 silver coins. And better yet, it can majorly strengthen your body while boosting a knight's battle aura. Desperate customers swarmed my stall as I ripped tickets in half, tossing one piece straight into the box and the other to the beer. Word spread through Mod City at lightning speed. Everyone honestly believed they would be the winner. The only catch was buying a cheap jam sandwich, which scored you a totally free ticket. Endless crowds poured in from every direction. Meanwhile, Baron Leverett watched his entire shop empty out in 30 seconds. As every single customer rushed over to my stall, He was absolutely furious. Then his brother ran in holding a ticket and explained my whole lottery system. Leverett immediately hatched a rotten scheme. Forge identical tickets by copying my handwriting. Make tons of duplicates. That way, no matter what number one grand prize, they would easily walk away with my dragon meat. I would either run out of meat and lose face, or be forced to hand over several pounds at a loss. He thought he was so clever, but he had zero clue about my secret. Counterfeit blocking magic water. In the crowd, Due and Manda spotted all the commotion. Due muttered that, once again, I broke the city. Manda kept wondering where I got dragon meat. Dewey mentioned that since I possessed a dragon fang sword alongside legendary dragon scale armor, then having some meat was basically nothing. They scrambled for tickets, but it was already way too late as massive crowds flooded in. My sandwiches sold out instantly. By the time they actually reached my shop, get this, over 10,000 people blocked the street, and more were still coming.